And good evening everyone and welcome live to Road Atlanta for the iRacing.com Petit Le Mans. We're racing here for 2.5 hours around this beautiful 12 corner 2.54 mile racetrack alongside me in the booth for at least the first part of this race, Mr. Marius Connenbeck. Guten Tag.
Guten Tag and good evening to all the viewers here. And what a classic venue, 2.5 hours of racing here, multi-class, 41 cars actually on the track, 4GT, HPD and the Corvette all at once, and well, I think we're looking to a really interesting race here.
Yes, this is going to be a long, hard, technical race for all three classes, and you know, we've got ourselves 21 of the high performance development cars, and then we've got ourselves, well, I believe that's 12 of the Corvette C6Rs, and then we've got ourselves not that many, only about 8-9 4GTs in this field, but the speed differential, Marius, between these cars, from HPD to the Corvettes to the 4GT, is just huge, and especially in the first section of this lap, drivers are going to have to be very careful to avoid running over each other.
Exactly, and we've got a very short track here, actually one of the shortest in the schedule for all of these three cars in the normal series. It's only just about 4.1 kilometers long, still got 12 turns, and as you can see already, it's a twisting track going up and down quite a lot, so it's very hard to predict what your opponents will do. And well, you said it, 21 HPDs versus another 20 Corvettes and a 4GT split up, so we've got half of the field with the prototypes and the other half is the sport coupes, if you will. So lots of overtaking, lots of lapping obviously, and hopefully not so much crashing.
And one of the key things for this race for all of these drivers is going to be, you know, just keeping their car clean. I mean, the Corvette, the GTs can take a little bit of damage, not too much, but you know, you rear end someone in your HPD and your race is pretty much done straight away. So, I mean, I know these drivers will have the chance to get some repairs done once in pit road, but A, you don't want to use that early, and B, you know, you have to take some repairs. You're going to be really losing time quickly, putting yourself 1, 2, maybe 3 laps down really early on into this race.
Especially, we're going to do 2 hours 30 minutes of racing actually, so you don't really want to risk so much on the first few laps. So really, if you want to finish this race, you really have to be conservative, wait a bit for the other cars. All of the classes are doing their own race basically, and really bring the car home safe.
So you can just see the drivers, they are circulating on the racetrack at the moment. We've got ourselves about 7-8 minutes left of this practice session. So we'll start running through the field, and Marius, on pole position, Timo Ivanen, time of 1 minute 7.750, just 12/100ths of a second faster than Jason Lovett on row number 1, so very close at the front of this field, and the first 5-6 drivers separated by less than 0.3 of a second.
Still though, Timo made the pole here with just over 1/10 in front of Jason Lovett. Of course, these two drivers both got the pro license here, so they will also be seen in the Pro Series later this season. Obviously, we know Timo Ivonen from several HPD car races, so he's really the guy you want to beat here. Jason Lovett, also known for extreme speed, and I just seen only in 5th position here Frederick Follestad, and he's been quite the fixture in these cars.
Oh yeah, completely, and Follestad, we've seen him racing in a number of series, broadcasting Glacier TV, and one of those drivers who you really do expect to see some big things from here. So we'll run through first of all your HPD field. As I said, it'll be Timo Ivanen bringing the field to the green flag in the number 4 machine, with Jason Lovett lining up alongside him in the 2nd position. Paul Ilbrank and John Jens will line up in row number 2, Frederick Follestad and Jeremy Bouteloup in the 3rd row. Roderick Cronin and Anthony Rosselli will line up in row number 4, with Mads Burr and Alexandra Gravelet running up in row number 5. Bashim Kramaski and Chris Damon Jr. lining up in row 6, with Marius Thomas and Kevin Parrish in row 7. Teddy Torres and Yuri Mantila in row number 8. Fernando M. Success and Kurt Crum in row 9. And then it is in the 19th position, Ander Estefana, Pavel Okimhenko in the 20th position, and Henry Backman in 21st, the last of the HPD drivers. And if you consider the fact that first to last, Marius is separated by what, less than 2.5 seconds, you know, really close field in this HPD, and it's going to make it very hard when you're manoeuvring around traffic of all these cars swooping past the Corvettes in, you know, the space of half an lap or so.
Still though, we've got the 21 fastest drivers of these cars who've qualified here tonight and really signed up for the race. So it's really going to be a battle between multiple drivers for the race, and that's when we continue with the Corvette class, because it's a bit more sorted out there, at least at the top of the field. We've got Enzo Bonito and Blake Townend leading the grid in the first row, both with a 1 minute 14.6, and that separates them by about 2.5 tenths. By third place Evgeny Dontsov, Daniel Sinker on fourth, Kimmo Suominen on fifth, and Craig Hunter on sixth. And between Dontsov and Hunter, 4 places difference. They've not even got 1/10 of a difference there, Will.
Oh no, very, very close there between those two drivers. And then of course you see Kimmo Suominen and Craig Hunter actually setting identical times. We believe that Suominen actually got that position because of the fact he set it in an earlier session earlier on today compared to Craig Hunter. They're lining up 26th and 27th overall, with Aleski Aloma, Luke Manzar, David Garcia, Efkan Burick, Jack Cedric and Jan Wedding lining out your Corvette field. And then as we go over to the 4GTs, it's a much smaller field in the way these races are split it out, but you've got Daniel Lopez and Dave Geeling. They will be your first 2 drivers in this field. Now, Lopez will be lining up on the outside of row number 17, Dave Geeling on the inside of row 18, and in some ways, Marius, that actually gives Geeling a bit of an advantage coming down into turn number 1.
I'm not really sure. Well, definitely that goes for the first few cars, especially in the HPD category. But at the start, I mean, basically the first cars are crossing the finish line when the HPDs already enter turn 1, and the 4GT class is barely out of the last turn. I mean, we've got 40 cars here, and obviously everyone tries to make a double file here as clear as it can. But as soon as the HPDs really fire it up at the top, you really want to go as well. And obviously being on the inside for a right-hander turn just before start-finish is good, but I don't think that either one of them will be so safe or secure to really take the first place into the first turn.
And of course, let's not forget as well, these classes like to give themselves a bit of separation. You'll see about, you know, a 10-12 car length gap between the last HPD and the first of the Corvettes. The same from the Corvettes to the 4GT class. We're running through the rest of your 4GT field. As I said, it's Lopez from Geeling, and then Robin Friskops will line up third in class, with Rupta Kila in the 4th position. Wilhelmi Ratto in 5th, Yoni Hagner, who will be our in-race supporter for today, will end up 6th in class, with Todd Carver and Eric Verdorf rounding out your field. And even there, in fact, I think the 4GT by far is our closest field, with what, less than 1 second, 6 tenths of a second separating first and last place there.
It's just about as close in the Corvette category, just like in the 4GTs. Daniel Lopez, Dave Geeling in the 4GTs leading the pack, with Enzo Bonito and Blake Townend leading the Corvettes, and judging by the qualifying times, they both have quite a bit of gap to the 3rd place relatively. So with Robin Friskops in the Fords, he's already 3/10 down, and I wonder if Dave and Daniel, especially in the 4GTs, will be able to make the race pace just as their qualifying pace.
Yeah, of course, and don't forget that you can keep in touch with us all race long. Use the hashtag #Petit Le Mans. That is #Petit Le Mans, all one word. Keep in contact with us on Twitter, and we'll read out the best throughout this broadcast here today. And the checkered flag is about to wave. Indeed, now it does. So practice is over. And Marius, for very quickly, what do you think your thoughts are going to be in this race?
I'm really not sure. I'm just eager to see. I mean, 41 cars on this narrow track. We haven't really got that much cars often in iRacing. I mean, the fixed series or even the open series usually run with around 30 cars, and even that is quite packed on such a track. So with 41 cars here, we've got overtaking at all ends of the track and really try to bring you the broadest view of the action. But definitely you will see as soon as the green flag waves, we've got pretty much chaos for the first few laps.
I think the word chaos is a bit of an understatement for those first couple of corners, at least, and especially sector number 1. I mean, it is very, very fast as you go through the S's, especially the second section of it. you really don't want to, A, you don't want to lose too much time, but B, two-eyed racing, you know, it can happen there, but you want to be cautious for those first couple of corners. We always expect to see one driver at least, you know, just put a big maneuver down the inside, and that could easily wipe out 5-10 drivers in a blink of an eye.
And we've got our in-race reporter for today, Joni Hagner, with us here in the booth now. Joni, you're 6th in the Ford GT class, currently on the grid waiting for going green here for the first lap of the race. What are your expectations? I mean, you're quite down the grid, not really that good of a qualifying, so what are you looking for in the race?
Well, I try to keep steady pace and keep my car in one piece. So,
That's exactly what we thought. Well then, just try to make it here. 2.5 hours, long racing time. How long can you make it on fuel, and what will be your pit strategy?
I think it's a 3-stopper race without extra incidents, so let's see.
Let's see, that's a good thing, and we wish you the best of luck, Joni, and of course we'll probably talk to you later in the race when everything is sorted out a bit. Just try to get the car clean over the first few laps and see where it puts you.
Yeah.
That will, of course, was Joni Hagner here. He is starting 6th in class in the 4GTs in the number 5 machine. Drivers currently coming through the end of the S now that makes their way down this short straightaway. And Marius, if you're going to look for a passing opportunity, this really is your first big passing chance into lap, because turn 1 is so fast, it really is difficult to make a big move unless you're ultra committed.
Definitely, and even if you just want to lap a Ford GT, and we've talked about the speed differential, and we'll definitely talk about that more during the race. As an HPD, you don't really get the chance so often to overtake so clearly. I mean, you want to make the pass, but you also want to make the pass clearly and not take out the competitors. So with the first straight, like you've talked, this is really your first good opportunity, because definitely in the S's it will be too risky.
And of course, Glacier TV will be your home for the 2012 Road Pro Series, the Road to 2013 iRacing.com World Championship Grand Prix Series, all season long on Glacier TV. Look forward to bringing those broadcasts to you starting in just a couple of weeks' time. So, it is going to be Timo Evelyn in the inside of row number 1, with Jason Lovett lining up alongside him on the left-hand side. Paul Brake and Jorn Jens running out your second row in the HPDs. Enzo Benito from Blake Townend, and then Eugenie Johnstoff and Daniel Sinker in the Corvette. Daniel Lopez, Dave Geeling, Friskos and Tequila in the 4GTs. You see the pace car is going to make that hard turn down towards pit road. Timo is just keeping it slow, steady for the moment. Now the green flags in hand. Timo gets a great start, and these cars are storming already down into turn number 1.
Jason Lovett missed start slightly, so Timo's going first into the first turn. 3rd and 4th also stick, and now a bit of dust kicking up there, one car off.
Bouteloup's off in the number 10 machine, just keeping it off the wall, but really having to be careful to avoid these HPD drivers not collecting him. He's pretty much fallen to the rear of the HPD field. Checking in on your Corvette class, you see there, Pavel in the number 41 machine, he's lost out to Blake Townend, who's had a great start, taken the class lead, and now you see that he's got a bit of separation between himself and Enzo Benito as they come down into that double apex right hand in 6th and 7th for the first time.
So far everything very clean here, even in the Corvettes. They currently run right behind the HPDs for the first few meters of the lap. No contact so far, everything looks very clean, and even in the Ford GTs everything's very smooth and no offs so far.
And one thing you will notice is that these Corvettes do pick up a lot of speed down this long back straightaway, coming down to the chicane. And often you'll see a Corvette or a 4GT get lapped, but then get unlapped coming down that back straightaway, and it really is a case of line management there. As you saw, Townend just letting that number 41 machine go past him as the leaders have put their first lap for the books, and it is Timo even leading the way from Jason Lovat in 2nd, Paul Inbrank and Jorn Jens in 3rd and 4th respectively. Frederick Follisled running out your top 5, and then in the Corvette it is Townend from Benito with Sinker in the 3rd spot, and Donstoff is coming running out your 4th spot in the Corvette class. And I tell you what, these GTs look as though they're having themselves a bit of separation early on there, as they've all pretty much got themselves a 4 or 5 car length gap to each other.
And we've got Frederick Follestad gaining the first position here. We started on 5th and currently made the move for 4th. But now it's got Paul Ilbrink right behind them. And we're going to see how much the slipstream is actually going to affect cars running with different downforce bias. So not really sure if Paul is going to make the move here. And he's already off the throttle here and letting Frederick pass and take the 4th position.
Yeah, so Frederick Follestad there moved him up 1 position in this race early on. And we've got ourselves a nice battle there between 2nd position and Jason Lovett, Paul Ilbrink. Sorry, I take that back completely there. As I was saying, Jordan Jens really is charging up to the back of Jason Lovett there. And it looks as though that he's very good in the 3rd sector, Jens, but losing out a little bit in the 2nd and 3rd sectors. So I'm not sure whether he's got more downforce on that car, but he just loses a little bit there down the long back straightaway.
And you've just seen it on the screen in the last turn here off the track. A little bit of trouble here for Enzo Bonito. He's just lost the 1st position battle against Blake Townend. Townend stays in 1st position here. Bonito not able to make the 1st position just as he started. So he's had to pass Townend in the last turn, but couldn't make the pass. So Sinkers even got past him as he had to go very wide here to keep the car under control, and now runs in 3rd position.
Joni Hagner in the number 5 machine in the Ford GT, move him up into the 5th position as he got himself around Todd Carver. So Hagner's made up 1 position in the start. I talked about the GTs getting a bit of separation as Cohemi Rato just gets a little bit wide there as they come off of turn number 5. But they're starting to close back up together a little bit. Daniel Lopez has gotten about a 2nd lead. But then Dave Geelink and Robin Friscops very close on the racetrack as they're coming out of turn number 7.
1.4 seconds dividing Timo Ivonen, currently leading the field here. No lapping yet to be afraid of. We're expecting about lap 10, I'd say, lap 9, lap 10 for the first lap cars here to arrive. So until then, you really want to put the hammer down, just like he said, Daniel Lopez with just over 1 second lead here to Dave Geelink already. You're trying to make the gap, and of course, why are you trying to make the gap now? As soon as you run into so much traffic, if you're right ahead of someone, obviously it will be a lot easier for someone to overtake you. And you've got 2 seconds of gap. You might be able to even extend it because the cars who are lapping you might need to stop and let you go through a few corners before they can overtake. So it's a very tactical race here. If you really want to make this last, you want to make the gap early and keep it throughout the race.
Fred Manzar just losing a position there to Kimo Surman. Those two have had some great battles over the past couple of months, as you're just looking on board there. Anthony Rosselli in the number 7 machine. And you see there those Radical Steel Series machines currently running in the 6th and 7th positions respectively. And Marius, these are always one of the teams, you know, when you've seen them on the track, really a force to contend with, be it in the HPDs and the Corvettes in the Formula 1 series. But at the moment, those two running 6th and 7th, and we've seen so many good things from Rosselli in the Daytona prototype this year. The car with more grip. Also, as we're going to take over Blake Townend and see that under pressure, and I believe that there's been a change from the lead there.
And the Ford GTs, I think that is.
Yeah, I take that back.
Yeah, Dave Geelink has actually made the pass, and we've just talked about 1 second gap between them both, and now it seems like it's completely evaporated, and Daniel Lopez down into 2nd.
Yeah, and that maybe Lopez is just pushing his tyres too hard too early on. Just having a look back to see whether he made a mistake which allowed that path to be set up. He did get a little bit wiggly out of turn number 1, but nothing that I would say was too much to handle with. I'm just having a look back and see if there was anything that... Oh, he got sideways, that's what it was, because he came out of turn number 7, just caught the curb coming in, and that just forced the car to spin around a little bit. Ahead of him, there was F. Camberwick having his own little incident, and Daniel Lopez there just got the car sideways, and Marius, it's at the point of the track where you really need a good exit to set yourself up for the back straightaway, and Geelink just took full advantage there.
You really do, and it's still early in the race, so not that much emphasis on making this last. I mean, there's a lot of time to go. We've just got over the 10-minute mark and 2 hours of 30 minutes of racing here, as we just see Ifkenberg here going past the Ford GTs here, and the speed difference between the GT cars isn't all that big.
Oh no, not at all. As you're looking at there, Enzo Benito, who's caught up Daniel Sinker now in the number 27 machine, as they are battling for second position in class in the GT1s. And this GT1, in fact, none of the fields really has spread out that much. There's a couple of drivers who are a bit off the pace. We'll talk about Ikan Buric. He had his little moment in the GT1 class, but apart from that, I mean, there's only one car so far who's been put a lap down in GT2 class, and that is Rup Turkila, who's now just being swamped by the HPD classes. As we'll check in with your race leader, Timo Ivonen, who's just literally driving around these cars through the chicane, the S's, turn 2, 3, 4, then brake hard into the brake to turn 5, get a good exit, set yourself up for this short straightaway down into turn at number 6. And even is just flying past these slow cars. And Marius, this is when you really just see the speed differential, not necessarily on the straightaways, but into the corners, just how late these HPDs can get onto the brakes.
That's correct, and they actually have to do that. We've talked about the speed differential on the straight, and the HPD has got so much downforce, it isn't fast enough on the straight.
And just having a look there is literally crumped up as they come down into the chicane. You see Jorn Jens trying to make a move on Jason Lovett. As Lovett there, I'm not sure, but I think Lovett's lost himself a position there. As Paul Ebring, I believe, is managed to get himself past. No, I take that back. It is Lovett in the second position. Jorn Jens has made himself up into third, and Paul Ebring's moved back into the fourth position. But this really is that part, as you see Ratto there. Ratto making a move, Guilherme Ratto in the 19 machine. I believe he's just got himself up one position in that GT class. So he looks like he's got himself back around Joni Hagner there in the lap traffic. And for these GT2 drivers especially, it's going to be a case of making your passes when the driver ahead of you is almost a bit distracted and try and follow the HPDs or the Corvettes past.
And there's literally so much traffic going on. I'm just following through the track here, trying to follow the leaders here, as Timo Ivonen was a bit lucky there. He's been able to extend the lead by about 4 seconds right there. And you obviously want to look for passing opportunities the whole race. And talking about passing, I think we've got Enzo Benito right there, and Daniel Sinker has made a move into second.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful pass there. Unfortunately, caught it a little bit too late there, but Sinker is on a charge at the moment in that number 27 machine. I mean, he's got himself, what, about a 5-second gap to Blake Townend, but I'll tell you what, as soon as these GT1 cars start getting into some traffic, that gap can shrink back immediately, so Townend really needs to push now to try and minimise that deficit later on in this race. Townend in the number 18 machine, as they leading the way. We've seen so many good things from Blake Townend this season in the iRacing.com Premier Grand Am Series, and also, of course, in the GP Series. But that number 18 machine looking strong out front in the GT1 class at the moment. But the traffic, Marius, how do you deal with this? I mean, I know you do a lot of this type of racing. How do you deal on a short track with traffic, lap after lap?
Oh, sorry, Will, and Daniel Sinker is off. Daniel Sinker is off in the final turn and loses his second position in the Corvette class.
Yeah, he gets back on, but my God, that was the worst place you could possibly lose any speed in that car. He literally catches the inside curve of the chicane too early, and you see him trying to slow down, getting himself onto the gravel. That cost him 10 seconds there, getting himself back onto the track. No contact with the wall for him there, so he does live to fight another day. But that is a bruised and battered ego there for the number 27 car, and he's fallen in back behind Craig Hunter. So he's just lost himself 5 positions there in the space of 1 corner.
Yeah, and I was just about to say, before that happened, Enzo must really be biting the wheel. I mean, he started in first position, got overtaken by Blake on the start, and then got overtaken by Daniel. And, well, he's been stuck basically behind Daniel, at least that's what he's probably expecting. And now is 4.5 seconds down the lead, and I think starting in pole, Will, you'll probably set the aims very high for this race, and now he's got to make up 5 seconds.
Oh yeah, just checking in with the battle for 8th, 9th, 10th in the HPD class, and it's going to get very interesting now as they come down into turn number 6. And you just noticed there that it was Efkan Buric who's been put lap down there by these drivers, and it was Bashkim Kometki in the number 29 car who lost out completely, as the 2 cars ahead of him, Frederick Follestad and Mads Burr, were able to get past coming into turn number 6, and as I say, the number 29 car had to wait until afterwards. You just saw that from being right on the tail of Follestad, he fell back by a good 2.5 there.
And I've just been skipping through the cameras here and caught a start-finish camera actually, and we've got Jack Said with a bit of a problem there. The fast right-hander just before start-finish, he took it full speed, got sideways, and then almost took out Timo Ivan in there. And Timo, with lightning-fast reactions, pulled the car to the right and avoided the incident there. Very lucky, and 41 cars in place here. Still everyone is going. We've got just so much overtaking on all the ends of the track.
Indeed, yeah, and same, just checking in the race leader of Timo Ivan, and once again the number 4 car. He's the one driver who's really been able to pull out the gap in that HPD class. He's got a 3-second gap over Jason Lovett in the number 25 at the moment. And that's not what we expected going on in this race. I mean, judging by qualifying times, we expected this field to be a much closer together, but Ivan does have that advantage of being the first car, so everyone kind of gets out of the way for him, knowing the fact that he's going to be the one, you know, who they'll get into more trouble if they end up putting into the wall.
They might be alerted, but as we see the battle for 5th and 6th, respectively 5th, 6th and 7th position here in the Corvette class, you just see the HPDs flying by. I mean, as a slower car, you've asked earlier how you deal with this, you just try to get out of the way. I've said they probably don't try to overtake in the S's, but yes they do.
Yeah, they do. I mean, they do it. I don't know how they do it sometimes.
You want to disappear, you want to, but sometimes it's just a matter of luck that you avoid incidents.
Yeah, and that's the thing for a lot of these drivers. They can practice all they want, getting the optimum line into a corner. What they really need to practice is running in traffic, having cars forming to the left and right of them, because you really need to be able to run your car pretty much anywhere. And you notice, Marius, that we've talked to some drivers before this race, that a lot of them, they make some sacrifices in their setup, make it a bit more forgiving, just so that they can handle their car wherever it needs to be offline or not.
Yeah, and you really have to. I mean, 2.5 hours, you've got to do 2 pit stops here, and if you enter the first pit stop already with some major damage, or even get it earlier in the race, it's really gonna hurt your chances to be to get a good position. So if you run endurance races in general, you really you really ensure to make the correct balance between an understeer, oversteer car, and really, I mean, you have to change your whole driving style basically. So don't be too aggressive and just let people pass wherever you can. You might lose a bit more time there, but you make sure that your car stays safe.
I'll tell you what, a very close one between Daniel Sinker and Anthony Rosselli. Just about half a lap to go. Sinker actually passed Anthony Rosselli coming down into the chicane. Rosselli was literally stuck behind some slow traffic. Sinker just blitzed down the inside of him. Let's not forget that Sinker's actually in the Corvette class and Rosselli's in the HPD class. And Rosselli very close there to being wrecked out of this race. So some words might be said after between those 2 drivers there. Sinker, both those drivers, very, very lucky to get through that one in one piece. We're going to go on board, I believe, down into turn number 1. You're looking on board. We're going to have a 4 machine once again on Timo Ivan. And Marius, just talk us through this section of the lap through turns 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Well, we've just made the first couple of turns here, now downhill into the S's, left, right, left again, and then braking hard on the curb on the right. Timo does that exactly right, turning to the left and taking as much curb as he can on the exit, trying to keep the car straight out of the turn. You see he's already got cars ahead of him right away. Double right-hander, late braking, trying to clip a bit of the inside curb, not too much obviously, still here, just a bit of wiggle out of the turn here, and you see Timo's not too aggressive. I mean, he could have had the cars before, but now too wide here on the straight, and the track's pretty much full already.
3 wide.
3 wide here as Timo goes past again, and you see the track ahead of him is just lightly filled with cars now, braking hard into the final chicane and left right, taking both curbs very hard, avoiding the off track on the left side, over the crest, and the car gets very light here, especially the GT cars, down the right hander and over start finish, and Well, basically that right-hander, we should probably take an on-board with a GT car later on. You'll see just how much difficult it is, how much more difficult it is than in a prototype. We've got less downforce, and he's still trying to make the turn as fast as he can. You can even do it flat out, but if you do, we've heard about, I think it was, let me just take a look, Jack Sedgwick, of course, who made the spin in the final turn and hit the wall, and you've got the wall closing in on the left, so if you spin there, it's also a matter of luck if you don't hit the wall.
And of course, these LMP2 cars, the HPD ARXs, I mean, they've got so much downforce, it's unbelievable, and they work best in the fast corners, where you can literally, you know, just put the power down and just glide through the corners. They're not as good in the slower corners. They do have the tendency to try and oversteer out a little bit, but in these fast corners, Marius, they are just an absolute dream to drive. As we're having a look actually now for battle for 6th position, this is Chris Damron Jr., who's got Anthony Maselli behind him, and he's got Roderick Cronin ahead of him. So literally Damron Jr. in a radical sandwich at the moment, coming down into the chicane, and Damron Jr. very wide there into the corner, bit of a wiggle on exit, and this is going to allow Maselli the chance to try and make a move down into turn number 1 even. But Rosselli there just had to be a bit defensive getting onto the gas and lost all that momentum himself there.
And you just see it, Damron is blocked a bit by Robert Tequila here in the first turn, the Ford GT. He couldn't get past immediately, and Roderick Cronin was immediately ahead of him, and he's got past that Ford, so he's immediately built a smaller gap. So it's just a bit of intelligent, smart driving here. Try to make the pass wherever you can, just to make the gap to the rear a bit bigger, as Damron Jr. goes very wide here over the right curb, and immediately made a gap to Anthony Roselli, as well as also he's been stuck in traffic.
And of course, we say the word blocked, we say that very loosely, of course. These drivers aren't blocking one another, it's just the fact that for the HPD they want to run one particular line, but you're not going to, if you're in a Corvette class or you're in the, you know, in the GT2 class, you're not expected to just move out the way. You can run your own line. We say the word block in the sense that, you know, their optimal line isn't being able to be taken. You see that down into the chicane, and that's a great move there by Damron Jr. Does he make his stick? He does, and he just flies past Roger Cronin there. So move Damron Jr. up into the 4th position, and Marius, that was a big late braking there by him.
That was quite aggressive by Chris Damron Jr. here, and we have to remind you, he started in 12th position, the number 17 HPD here, just made the pass past Roderick Cronin, and now immediately back into the traffic, and he's already passed them. Quite an aggressive line there, past 2 cars, and Cronin is stuck again.
Yeah, so all of a sudden, Cronin from being sat in the 5th position by about 1.2 seconds, he's now in 6th, and he's going to have Anthony Maselli all over his rear spoiler in a couple of corners time if he's not careful. But I mean, we'll try and get on board with our Glacier TV blimp cam in just a moment. I don't want to do it down past the start finish line, sorry, into the S's even. And you just see from the overhead shots, Marius, just how many cars there are on a small portion of the racetrack, and the risks that all of these 3 cars are having to take.
It looks a bit like an RC car track, to be honest. You just see little dots flying all over the track everywhere. And all the cars, of course, have different kind of strategies to argue with the traffic. As an HPD, you're obviously the fastest car on the track, so you just try to get past, saying just, as of course you want to stay safe. And I think we see a battle for the lead in the Corvette class there, if I've seen that right. Bonito on the grass there, on the left, braking for the final turn. It was a bit breathless there. That was very close. He did make the move, but Townend stays in front, and just the wiggle out of the final turn in the Corvette. He's so close to hitting the grass and making a big moment there out of the final turn.
And you're looking on board with Benito now. As you see, you're trying to gain a bit of advantage, you're trying to close that gap to the car ahead of you. But all the time that you're looking forward, you always have to look in the left mirror, the right mirror, look behind, see what's going on, because all of a sudden you've got 3, 4, 5 LMP2 cars just swarming past you. Benito now, just take through the second half of the lap as he's trying to close down Townend, behind Marius.
We've got the double right-hander here as well. Not much traffic behind him right now, but we see Blake Townend very much stuck between HPDs and 4GT sandwich, double right-hander onto the straight. Pretty much different line than the HPDs, just trying to get the car out of the turn without any slide. And now you see 3 wide ahead of him, and there's virtually no speed difference. the HPD runs so much wing, and the Corvette in the top speed runs just over 280 here. That's quite a bit more than the HPDs, and even the 40Ts can keep up with that. And we've had a bit of a gap to Blake Townend, but it's the end of the lap, and he's right at his tail again. Now being slowed down a bit by Joni Hagner, in-race reporter in the 40T, and I think both of them try to go past him now in the first turn.
And for those of you who use real distances, 280 kilometers an hour is 175 miles an hour. But Benito there, you see that really closing up that gap now. But if he just gets to get offline with the former cars, he was to lose all of that once again. Really closing that gap to Townend now in the. We're kind of about halfway through the first stint in this race. We expect these drivers to do 2 or 3 stops. We're not quite sure. Some might do either or. See Benito now looking down to the inside, not being able to make the move though, because he had to get out of the way for one of the faster drivers behind him to make the pass himself. So the LMP2 driver of Teddy Taranis in the number 33 machine makes the pass on all of those. But Blake Townend had a little bit of relief there, because it did look as though Benito was going to try and make that move down to the inside as they came down into turn number 6.
Well, we say it every time when we've got multi-class races on, but I think I'll just say it another time. Basically, we've got 3 races going on here at once. Of course, if you're in a Corvette, you really try to do your own race. You still got cars flying by, and obviously cars you have to overtake, but you just try to make your own race, and eyes everywhere and ears everywhere especially, so just try to make it safe. And Enzo just got stuck a little bit, and the gap is already 2 seconds. Taking into the first turn, Blake had to wait, cars passed by him, and he's lost another second, so it's back to normal. I mean, you can't really force it, you really have to just be in the zone, try to get a good feeling here about when to overtake and when to be overtaken, and try to just make it smooth and as smooth as you can.
Say keep in touch with us all race long. Use the hashtag IR Petit Le Mans. Big shout out to @Yari Inc. watching it on his TV. Impressive there. Drivers in other races as well, sharing their thoughts on the race when it's safe for them to do so. But things are starting to settle down. So we've got a big spin too.
Whoa!
Yeah, and that was Jack Sedgwick.
Daniel Lopez involved.
Yeah. And that
second place 40D.
Huge crash there down the back straightaway, and it was Jack Sedgwick who just literally speared into the side of Daniel Lopez. Lopez's incident, just trying to figure out where it started.
When it started a lot earlier. It started just out of the right-hander onto the straight, where Lopez goes sideways, and Fernando Amstatius couldn't avoid hitting him, so he's hit him on the rear. Lopez tried to make it into the pits, and Sedgwick, who's already had the crash in the last turn, he couldn't see him over the crest and slams right into the side of Daniel Lopez.
And that is going to take out, you see the replay on your screen now, and that's just going to take out one of the big contenders in this MotoGP field here today. And Daniel Lopez is going to be utterly disappointed by that, as he'd had a really good race up until that point, and in many ways that is just going to give Dave Geeling a huge amount of respite now, because he has got himself a good 15-second gap now over Robert Viscott in second position in class.
Of course, I have to mention that it puts our in-race reporter Joni Hagner in 4th position, and commentator's curse, not good, and he's into the wall.
Oh no!
Oh my God, no!
The curse of the commentator.
Very unlucky.
Curse of the commentator strike again. I tell you what, he slows it down just enough to hit it in such a way that, you know, he's got a bit of damage to that front end, but it looks like it might just be drivable there. Cars swarming around him, left, right, everywhere. But Yoni, you know you're going to listen back to this. We apologise. In fact, no, I apologise on behalf of Marius for you crashing there. You see him just trying to take the smoothest, safest line possible. Expect him to pull down pit road any moment now. He's cruising over the hill. He'll flick it to the left-hand side. And for him, if he can get that damage repaired, I mean, he has still got a chance of using some strategy to gain some places up, but that is hugely disappointing there for the number 5 machine.
Very unlucky for him. I mean, he was just up to 4th position, of course, benefiting from the crash ahead, and he started from 6th position, so 2 places made up during the race, and now I wonder how long it's going to take the pit crew to repair this car. And meanwhile, we're going to skip to P2 to P4 fight by now we've got 11 seconds gap to the lead, and well, 11 seconds, and we've got 20 minutes into the race. Jason Lovett versus Jörn Jens versus Paul Ilbrink for second in the HPD class.
And I tell you what, Jason Lovett there had to go 3 wide to get past those Corvettes. That was scary, scary stuff. And Jörn Jens did a great job in that 26 machine at the moment, closing down Jason Lovett, who looks like he might have just used up a bit too much of his car early on. This goes back to what I was saying earlier. These drivers just can't on their optimal line all race. And if you happen to get on the brakes earlier, go around the outside, the wrong way around, really do things in the car you don't want it to do, you can wear your tyres out, and there's so many unknowns there. Just love it just going past one of the GT1 cars that you really can wear your tyres out without you even realising until it's too late.
And meanwhile, the battle has been stretching out from second, as you can say, till 7th position. Anthony Roselli here. And we've got so much cars closing in, and even Chris Dameron Jr. just overtook Paul Ilbrink for 4th.
Yeah, and Dameron Jr. is on a charge. Let's not forget, we're just talking about how close the second to fourth pack is. Dameron Jr. right now is looking for a podium spot for the time being. Jörn Jens is in sight as they come down into turn number 5. We're going to keep our eye on this one for just a moment there. You see a Corvette going very wide over the curb. You can use all of it without too much hassle. In fact, I believe that's one of your boys there, the number 3 machine, Alexi Loma.
Yeah, there's been Alexi, and so far he is in 5th position off the grid. Just behind Farouk Manzar. Obviously he's lost a bit of time there, so Farouk is not anymore in sight, but he's followed closely by Daniel Sinker as they pull out pretty much right after another through the traffic here. And you now see lots of HPDs around them. Paul Ilbrink, of course, trying to get close to Dameron Jr. again, and still being attacked by Roderick Croyn from the rear.
Of course, Les Coloma in the My 3ID gaming stables, some of the best drivers I've ever seen in there. Marius isn't one of them, unfortunately. See, Dameron Jr., now he's got past. He's struggling to close that gap up to Jörn Jens just a little bit there. But this traffic could work for him as they come down to turn number 1. He's going to try and make a big bold move. Wasn't quite had the line to do so there, but
too risky.
Jr., yeah, it was too risky, too early on there. As we have our first retirement of the day, and that is Alexandre Gavale, who is out of the race.
And I think big shout out to Timo Ivonen here. He's pretty much led this race for the entire time, starting in pole and so far in 1st position. He's got 12 seconds gap to 2nd position, of course, benefiting from the heavy fighting behind him. But with a 12-second gap, well, I'd say you can already take this a lot easier.
Indeed, yeah, he can take easier, but you don't want to take it too easy because you get stuck behind the wrong amount of traffic at the wrong time. There's 2 seconds gone immediately, and this is still a long race. We've still got ourselves 2 hours worth of racing left to go here. We're currently working at lap number 25 for those of you who'd like to talk in lap numbers. So, of course, this race is probably going to go on for, let's multiply that by about 125 laps in total for the HPD drivers. Of course, they've got to make themselves at least 2 pit stops in that time. As you see, Dameron Jr. Making the pass on Jörn Jens there. Beautiful down into turn number 1. That was moving him up now into the 3rd position. And he can see Jason Lovett, who's only 1 second ahead of him. Dameron Jr. really is on a charge in that LMP2 number 17 machine.
Meanwhile, Paul Ilbrink, 5th for the last lap, has lost 2 positions out of the last turn. He's just got a bit wide there over the chicane. It looks like he's really struggling to keep the car stable. Anthony Roselli and Roderick Croyn passed here. Croyn now in 5th, Roselli in 6th, and that put Paul Ilbrink down into 7th position here in total. And Jörn Jens is trying hard to really not lose the gap, and we're in lap 26 now, 35 minutes done. And I think it's just about the time that the tyres wear off a bit, and well, we're not looking to the first pit stops yet, but the car's definitely not as fast as in the beginning, and now you really have to show your endurance skills to make this one last. And Dameron's passed. Into
2nd position there, and that was on the exit of the chicane. You do not expect drivers to really do that, and I think Lovett there, which is caught napping. So we are now approaching 35 minutes into this race. We're just past half an hour mark, so we're going to take time to reset it. You are watching the iRacing.com Petit Le Mans here live on Glacier TV. Will Benson, Marius coming back in the booth. Very quickly, your top 5 in each class is Timo Ivonen from Chris Dameron Jr. from Jason Lovett. Yeah, Roger Cronin, your top 5 drivers.
Oh, and cut off Kimmo Suominen into the wall, and that is a heavy crash for Kimmo Suominen right in the S's.
Yeah, and I just saw that on my screen as well. And it looks like Surman was offline all the way through turn number 2 and 3. And then he just got tagged, actually, by, who's that? That was Roderick Cronin there.
Yep,
in
it was.
Number 28. And just got tagged a little bit. And Surman into the wall. His day pretty much going to be done. He's going to try and get a tow back towards pit road. These drivers can get a tow, but really going to hurt his chances there for Kimmo Surman, who at the time was sat 3rd in class. So to run through your Corvette field, it is Blake Townend from Enzo Benito, and now Farouk Manzar. Alessio Lowe is in the 4th position, and Daniel Sinker in 5th. And then the GTs, it is Geeling from Robin Friskops from Emirato, Rup Tequila, and then Top Carver running out your top 5. And every time I try and take a breath, Marius, something else happens on this racetrack.
You can't. You really just can't, as we've just seen with Kimmo. In the S's, you've just got no space to the sides, and of course Kimmo was himself on a charge, and if you go side by side, we just see it all the time. And I've just heard Alexia Loma blew his engine.
Yeah, and I have no idea. I'm just having a look back there on my replay to see what happened to him. But from literally out of nowhere, Aloma looks as though he is going to be out. Again, he's one of those, he can try and get that car back to the pit road to his mechanics and have a look to see what happened to it. But it just looks as though it just blew up for no reason there. Maybe he just caught himself, I mean, he just ran a very big bump coming out of the chicane. And then the car literally just decided to blow up on him. Staggering.
And we've got Alexi with us here, and that looked very strange. Alexi, what happened?
Well, I think I hit some kind of landmine, so my car just shoot into the air, and my maximum speed was 83,000 kilometers per hour.
Well, congratulations for beating the land speed record, of course, but the technical term for those of you who are watching this race, term landmine, there's some very big bumps over this track, and these drivers hit them at the wrong place. It really does affect the engine as these cars run so low. But until that point, you were really charging in that GT1 field. This really is going to set you back now in this race. Do you think there is going to be a chance to get that car back out on track today?
Yeah, I just exited the speed pit, so yeah. But well, I will just try and see how many cars drop out, and then we will see what I can do.
So they've just got themselves a little bit of repairs to that race car, thankfully able to get back out on the track. They've stolen Audi's pit crew, has that number 3 Corvette GT1 machine, but the big bumps on this track, Marius, I mean, these drivers know where they are, but when you're, being overtaken, you can get put onto them, and they really do a lot of damage to your race cars.
They really can, and well, we've got so many dangers here around the track. Really not sure where to look. Just trying to... I think it's just calming down a bit. We've got a few cars out of the race. Of course, Joni Hagen still going. Daniel Lopez also back out on the track. So it's only Alexandre Gravouille and David Garcia completely out, and Jax Hedwig still in the pits. Yeah, 3 cars out, but I think by now, talking about the getting used to between the classes, I think that should be settled by now.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. These drivers will kind of know how the other drivers in each field are reacting. So, you know, a lot of these drivers have personal spotters for races like this. So they'll know, you say, you're coming up, for example, behind Sinker, and they'll know that Sinker drives a certain way, brakes a certain way into the corners, takes a certain arc into the corners. So these drivers will kind of use that to try and get the maximum overtaking opportunities while still keeping it safe, and kind of having a bank of knowledge about each of the drivers on this racetrack race. It is really important because you want to maximise your own speed, but at the same time you don't want to annoy any of the other drivers because it can come and bite you in the ass later on.
Definitely, and you see the livery of the cars, so you probably know who's in it, and by the time going... just watching Chris Dameron Jr. there going a bit sideways there in the middle of the track, overtaking Daniel Lopez. And as well, Jason Lovett, don't... Oh, he's holding it. I can't really finish the sentence, can I? Just Jörn Jens now right behind Jason Lovett. Lovett with a big moment there into the first right-hander. and I believe I've just heard a crash somewhere.
Just having a look through the field myself, and there is one car, I believe I did just see in the wall there, but we'll try and get back to you on that one. There is a car going very slowly through the chicane there. That was Todd Carver. Maybe he's just being slow to let the other cars go past him. But we have got Jack Sedgwick back into the pit road. So his day has gone from bad to worse to even worse in that number 35 Vodafone Samsung machine. So Sedgwick having a very hard day. But I tell you what, Darren Jr. has closed that gap. It's now down to pretty much 10 seconds when it was up to about 13 about 10 minutes ago. So Darren Jr., I think, in a long race like this, has a chance to try and close Timo Evenham, but he's going to have to use everything. Traffic management. He's going to have to hit his lines every lap, and of course, pit road at this track is so difficult, both in and out, that you can gain or lose a lot of time now.
Definitely, and well, I'm not really sure yet, but Chris is quite aggressive so far, from 12th to 2nd position, quite aggressive in traffic, and I really hope that's going to make it last. 10 seconds of gap there, and we'll just give you a bit of insight through the HPD field here. We're calculating with normal speeds at the lap about 1 minute 09 here. Timo, for example, did his fastest lap just 3 laps ago, 1 minute 09.2. And just 1 lap after, well, he's done a 1 minute 14, and that is 5 seconds slower than the lap before.
That just shows what traffic's all about. As we're just having a look at the battle for 5th, 6th and 7th on the racetrack, that is Roger Cronin, Anthony Rosselli and Paul Ubrank. Now, of course, Rosselli and Cronin as teammates won't be racing each other as hard as you'd expect other drivers to do. Rosselli has just stayed behind Roger Cronin in this race. We know how much speed Rosselli has in these kind of high downforce performance machines. But with Paul Ubrank behind, do you think at some point Rosselli might just say, look, I'm faster, let me pass, let's see whether we can keep Ubrank behind us together?
I'm not really sure. It would always be a good move to let the faster driver pass and try to follow, but I think for now they're just trying to not put the car completely out and not crash, and maybe benefit from a mistake like now, as Rosselli gets the better run out of the double right-hander here on the straight. But it's really too much to think in the cockpit. I mean, they are so far in the zone, they're just trying to avoid any contact on lapping and still make a good lap. So I'm not really sure if that is too much to think about.
Yeah, you see Rosselli there, he could have made a pass on the outside into the chicane, decided better of it. Andy Karastov, I know, team manager of the Radicals team. You see that down into the final corner, Rosselli once again backs off. So he had the chance to make the pass, decided not to do so. But I'm wondering how long it is until Karastov makes a call in the team radio to say, Cronin, Rosselli is faster than you. But those two, they are still keeping him right behind for the time being, and that's what's important. You see that, I believe that's one of the Corvettes who just got put into the grass. That's Kimmo Snowman back out on the racetrack in the number 1 machine. He literally just got forced into the grass then. He broke a little bit late, and then he just did it with the turning radii, and those HPDs are just swarming behind him.
Yeah, we've got Suomi back on the track, and that just shows, I mean, he's had a big crash. He's currently 2 laps down of the leading Corvettes here, so basically no chance to win this one. But we've seen the same for Alexi Aloma. Everything can happen, and just like Alexi said, he's just trying to get the car back out on the track and see where it goes. So 2.5 hours of racing, we've got 45 minutes done, 1 minute and 45 to go. Of course, this is the iRacing Petit Le Mans presented by Glacier TV here live with Will Vincent and me, Maris Gullenbeck. And Will, it's just 6 seconds. Basically, Timo's been losing the couple of last laps.
Yeah, and first of all, it is 1 hour 45 minutes, not 1 minute and 45 seconds. Otherwise, we over by now. But of course, Darren Jr. really is closing, and Evenham just had some very slow laps recently. I mean, Lovett is closed, Jordan Jens is closed, they're all closing on Evenham. And if we have a look at his last lap time, say his fastest lap of the race was set on lap number 29, 1 minute 9.259. Since then, he's had a 1 minute 14, a 1 minute 12, 1 minute 11, 1 minute 10, 1 minute 14. So some very slow laps for him. You compare that to Darren Jr., who actually just got a little bit wiggly there, coming off a turn at number 7. But Darren Jr. just set his fastest lap of the race, 1 minute 9.507, and he's done at 1 minute 11, 1 minute 11, 1 minute 12, 1 minute 9. So overall, Darren Jr. has been losing less time behind traffic compared to Evenham, and that is where, as I said, your time is going to be made at this racetrack, not how fast you can just get around the corner. And overtaking slower cars really does put a big factor into these races. Just checking in as well into the GT1 field, and Enzo Benito is closing down once again Blake Townend. Now Benito's last lap was 1 minute 15.790. Compare that to Townend, 1 minute 16.127. They're just gaining him 4 tenths per second. It's been that way now for the past 2-3 laps. So it looks as though Townend really starting to struggle in the latter stages of this run.
Just taking a look as well to the gap on the 3rd position here between 2nd and 3rd in the Corvette class. Bonito is currently just about 30 seconds already in front of Farouk Manzar in 3rd. So the number 37 Corvette here just ahead of Daniel Sinka. And talking about Daniel Sinka, I think I've just seen him off. He's a bit of crap walking there around the straight, so definitely had an incident there, going very slow just across the grass here to avoid an incident. Ooh, and grabs one Corvette! Oh, and that was Craig Hunter.
Yeah, that was, I'm not sure how much damage Hunter's going to get there, but that was a glancing blow at the very least. Just having a look on our, just having a look at my camera to see how much damage actually done to that car, and it looks as though Hunter might just have got away with that. And how, I have no idea, but a little scrape to the left-hand side bodywork of that number 24 car, perhaps. Apart from that, Hunter is a very, very lucky gentleman right now.
Luck goes not for Daniel Sinka. I think he's really done for. Not really made it out of the pits yet, so car's still being towed here. And he's being tossed down the grid. Efkan Birki, Evgeny Doncev, Alexei Loma, most likely all passing him now. And well, sooner or later, the things Alexei told us about how the flies are going to drop here, it just starts.
Yeah, and as I say, I'm just having a look on our Glacier TV blink cam again, and just having a look around Craig Hunter and all of those drivers trying to find just a full position, really, that mid-pack at the moment is just seething with cars, as there's been a change in battle for P7 in the LMP2 class. That is Jason Lovett with Paul Ilbring. And Lovett is starting to slow. He really was good early in this race. Ever since he's been passed by Cameron Jr., it just looks as though that his tyres might have been gone. He might have some damage somewhere that we don't know about. But that number 25 machine really is struggling right now.
I really wonder. I mean, his last lap has been 1 minute 21, so he might have been off there. And I see a bit of damage. It looks like a shark bite to the front left of his car, basically. Looking through the field, lots of cars already have a bit of scrape paint here and there. But for Lovett, I wonder if that's really gonna not hurt his feelings. I mean, it's definitely going to hurt his aerodynamics. He's been 2nd here, currently being tossed down into 8th position. Bashkim Kuzumaki right behind him already. We'll keep an eye on that and see how the lap times develop, I guess, but he definitely can't follow Jeremy Boutaloub in front.
Yeah, we're just keeping an eye out because we are approaching pit stops. Now, we know that these 4 GTs can pretty much do about 37 laps on a tank. The Corvettes can go a little bit longer than them, and the LMP2 class, the Hondas, could go a couple of laps further than that. I mean, some of these drivers are going to probably try and go off strategy now to try and get a bit of a gap compared to their class rivals. But in a race like this, you know, you might as well just fill the car up when you need to and not worry about it, because can you really gain much time overall with all the traffic on this racetrack? I mean, these laps, you know, we're only doing 1 minute 10 laps of the fastest, so there's a lot of traffic still on a very small racetrack.
You probably really can plan for it, and as you want to go in the pits, it might be a very short decision to go in or not. A lot of the guys have their teammates on TeamSpeak or Ventrilo, and just talking to them, informing them about where their opponents are. And if you see there's a big pile of cars coming up and you're running very low on fuel, so you might just want to pit 1 lap earlier. And currently 7 seconds between Imon and Damon Jr. I wonder when they are going to pit. I mean, usually we're calculating who stays out longer gains more, but with this much traffic, anyone could be the winner in this.
Indeed, and we are getting to kind of pit road window, and I tell you what, I really want to keep an eye on that number 17 LMP2 car of Chris Dameron Jr. Through the cycles of pit stops, because if he can hit his pit stops perfectly, he's got a chance of trying to take this race lead through this first cycle. But I really do expect Evening, as soon as they come back out, to have the upper hand once again. Because I just think Evening, he's probably had to push that car a bit too hard to get that gap, and he really is paying for it now. And that gap is now down to less than 4 seconds between first and second in class there, and that really is something that he can overhaul in a sequence of pit stops.
It might be the decider, especially between these split-second decisions. I mean, we've still got Roderick Croyne against Anthony Roselli. We've still got Bashkim Kozmaki against Jason Lovett, and these cars are virtually right behind each other. So 1 lap difference between the pit stop can make up several seconds. As Kozmaki just tries to go past Lovett here, makes up the 3 wide, and overtakes him safely before the double right-hander onto the long straight. And it really looks like Lovett has some problems.
Yeah, indeed. Lovett really, really is struggling in that 25 car now. And I think it's also because this track is so aerodynamic. The aerodynamics required so much here. You know, you have to really, really rely on those aerodynamics if you're going to make it around these turns.
Will Demren in the pits.
So he's the first of our drivers to commit towards pit road. So maybe he's running a couple of gallons lighter than some of these other drivers who his light stint early in this race. Nicely into his box there. He's getting himself 4 fresh tyres, topping up with Sunoco race gas, really having to fill that all the way up to the top here. And I mean, these HPDs, they take a huge amount of fuel. They measure it in pounds. They take 132.3 pounds worth of fuel. Just unbelievable how much they can get in there. And just looking there, he's still waiting. These pit stops take anywhere in the region between about 25 to 35 seconds. Now he's out. And 45 mile an hour speed limit. Now he's got to be very careful as he exits here. The pit road narrows, and then you've got to really make sure you don't merge too early, which will get yourself a black flag. But he's falling in right behind Kevin Parrish there in the number 32 machine.
He's right behind Kevin Parrish, but in front of Parrish, you've not really got that much cars. So he's got pretty much a free track until the double right-hander right now. It could be enough to gain a little more than he used to, but Ivonen is still out. He didn't make the move into the pits, and so far, skipping through the grid, no one else has. So it looks like Damron Jr. is really going for some extraordinary strategy here, just trying to risk this. I mean, he's already risked quite a lot to say. 12th to 2nd is quite an achievement there. Just hoping that he doesn't go in too aggressive here. So with the early pit stop, he's probably now fully in the zone and just trying to make this race last and charge down Ivonen even further.
Yeah, and just make a note of that. It was 51 minutes into this race that Damron Jr. committed down towards pit road. So keep an eye out. We'll see whether or not Ivonen comes down this time by. We've got a very slow car on the left-hand side. That was Jack Sedgwick in the 35 machine, who looks like he might be out of fuel there. Either that, he was just letting all these cars swarm past him. Indeed, he might have been, because he's coasting down towards pit road in that number 35 car. He's on pit road, and Ivonen is on pit road now. So your first position driver in the number 4 machine is on pit road, as is Manchila in the number 40 car.
Björn Jens, Roderick Croyne, all in. Paul Ilbrink, Jeremy Butterloop here, all in, as well as Bashkim Kozmaki. And Jason Lovett has been in, meanwhile, we've missed that. But now it's really Damron versus Ivonen.
And I think, you know, the worst thing that can happen now is you're coming into pit road right behind another class car, because these LMP drivers especially can really gain a ton of time coming in. We're keeping an eye on Ivonen and seeing where he comes out in relation to Damron Jr. Damron Jr. is coming out of the final corner now, so he's blasting it down the start-finish line as Ivonen is still in his pit box. So it looks like Damron Jr. is going to take the race lead away here.
And they fixed damage.
Yeah.
They did fix damage on Timo Ivonen's car, clearly fixed the damage, and that still seems to be optional, but Damron Jr. just looking at his car, he doesn't seem to have damage as well, so he's either not got any or didn't fix it. I'm not really sure, but he's definitely gained about 8 seconds here.
Yeah, and Ivonen move him back down as a smoking car. Damron back straight away. That is Jack Sedgwick in the 35 car, who's blown his engine up. Anthony Rosselli in the number 7 machine, now down at pit road. The first driver, apart from Evening, to lead a lap all race long. Rosselli in the number 7 Radical Steel Series LMP2 machine comes down. And we'll keep an eye where he feeds back in. Shouldn't be as much of a factor. We are keeping an eye out for confirmation. It is Chris Damron Jr. who will be classified as your race leader, and it is going to be Timo Evenen who's going to be in second. But look at the advantage that Damron Jr. has, not only on track but all the cars between them. So Damron Jr. he moves up into the second position for the time being, as Kevin Parrish inherits the race lead for the moment. He will lead a lap. But Kevin Parrish is really stuck behind Donstov in the number 14 GT1 machine, and Kevin Parrish really got held up there.
And well, talking about being held up, I'm not really sure, but I think it might even be Timo Evenen inflicted by some damage. The damage is, of course, being fixed once it is crucial, or once the pit crew decides they have to fix it no matter what you do. That is called required repairs, of course. So I guess Evenen didn't want to do that. I mean, he's lost in too much to really want to do it. And as well, just took a look at Jan Jens is down to 9th position. So he's lost out about 20 seconds here. So this would fit to required repairs.
Indeed. I'm just having a look at Damron Jr. It was a 6-second gap he's pulled out over Evenen for the time being. Kevin Parrish does stay on the racetrack. However, he has been passed by Damron Jr. So he is going to be scored as your race leader, as you're having a look at the number 18 machine of Blake Townend, right in the middle of a big wad of traffic. Cars down this back straight away. I've seen these cars go 4 wide once in this race. Just absolutely crazy stuff. But I tell you what, Enzo Benito is in second position and is still, you can see at the rear end of Blake Townend, he's been sat there for the last 6, 7, 8 laps or so now. He's just taking it a bit more cautiously than we saw early on in the number 8 Club Italia driver. So perhaps Benito is just settling himself down into rhythm as Townend comes onto pit road, as does Benito. So both your first and second place in the GT1 drivers come in at the same time. Benito gained a ton of time as they came down into pit road.
Yeah, that was quite the Italian move, if you call that. Very bold move into the pits. Bit aggressive, but that could be just the time he needs to make the pass. Well, we're not really entirely sure about how much fuel the cars need, but it could be that he just refuels less by 1 click and really makes the pass by that, and then refuels more for the last pit stop. Though we're expecting pretty much full tanks here, so I'm not really sure if that is an option, even though, yeah, he might execute the move by doing so.
Yeah, I'm having a look at my... I mean, you can try and take a little bit less fuel now, a little bit less in your next stop, but it will just work in such a way that you probably lose too much time overall. And you see that Benito does get out ahead, dramatically ahead. I mean, it was 2-3 seconds then that Townend was longer with that fuel hose in. So Townend's gone for the long haul. Benito, as you said, just taking a little bit less fuel there. That gives him track position. And now it is Townend on the back foot, and the back foot on the back foot even. But, of course, Townend will have the advantage of having to take less fuel on his final pit stop. So it swings and roundabouts, to be fair. It's just where you want to be on track at what particular time.
It really does, and I wonder, I mean, for a short period of time, I think definitely Bonito's made the right choice here, but well, we've seen both cars pretty much stuck in traffic the entire time, and no one could really benefit or did lose. So I would really think that Townend puts the hammer down and tries to close the gap. I mean, it's just about 4 seconds. With a bit of an issue, we've seen it with the HPDs, there's 5-second difference in a lap easily.
Indeed, yeah. We're just going to run through your top 5 drivers in each class. It is Chris Damron Jr., who's starting this race in the 12th position, up to the race lead by about half a second over Kevin Parrish. But the important thing is Timo Evenen, who is 7 seconds behind him now. In the LMP2 class, it's Damron Jr. from Parrish, Evenen from Cronin, from Rosselli. Your GT1 class, Craig Hunter, Enzo Benito, Blake Townend, Farouk Manzar, Eugenie Bonstoff. Craig Hunter hasn't pitted yet in that class. And in the GT2 class, it is Geerling from Chris Kops, Hagner, Ratto, and Turkila. We'll be back in a minute after this message. The Proto Ice Series, win yourself up to $1,000. That will start next Saturday live here on Glacier TV. Glacier TV, of course, the home for the 2012 Road Pro Series, the road to the 2013 iRacing.com Drivers' World Championship, of course, on Glacier TV all season long next season. Just checking in on Kevin Parrish in the number 32 machine, Marius, and it looks as though he's gone for a completely different strategy to the rest of this field, pitting very early on lap number 14, I believe, and he's trying to do this a completely different way to everyone else.
Yeah, we've used this short commercial break just to check about the few cars who seem to run on a different strategy. We still don't really know what happened to Yvonne and Jan Jens, especially with the repairs. But definitely Parrish is just about 3 seconds behind Chris Cameron Jr. now. Yvonne has lost a bit in the last lap, but it looks as though Parrish has made the early pit stop in lap 13. I'm not really sure if he's been able to really make this race on 2 stops, so we're expecting him on a 3 stop.
Yeah, for Parrish to make this race in 2 stops, it'd have to be fuel saving from about now to do so. I mean, his last lap time was at 13.1, but was stuck behind traffic. Now, we'll do his laps based on what he did in practice, and that was a 1 minute 10, which was doing pretty much consistently in the practice session. And he's been doing 1 minute 10 to 1 minute 11 when he's been in clean air, so he's definitely not saving fuel. So that must mean that he's going to have to make a splash and dash later on.
Well, the pit road isn't really that long, and I'm really not sure. Oh, I mean, and Timo Ivonen, sorry, Timo, that is what happened there. No impact to the wall, but big slide there, and he's really damaged his tires there, and he's right ahead of Croydon now.
Indeed, yeah, and that is going to hurt his chances dramatically there. And I'm not sure, but even it just doesn't seem as though he's been on it as much this second, you know, for the last half hour or so now. And just having a look there, Roger Cronin, he's in the 4th position, and he can really now see the rear of the number 4 car. You see that Cronin in turn. Anderson was certainly looking down to the inside, didn't make the car stick, but he's going to have another shot there as they come out of the final corner. This is corner number 12. And Rosselli looks a lot feistier in this second stint again. And Anthony Rosselli in that number 7 machine really, Marius, is really looking as though he wants to try and find a way past Walter Cronin now in the number 28 car. And teammates are not. Do you think Rosselli's just got bored of seeing that rear spoiler?
He could be. He started in 8th, of course, now he's in 5th, so that's already quite a good race for him. Of course, still Dameron Jr., our charger of the day, from 12th to 1st currently. But for Rosselli, I think he's really seen this this is possible. I'm not really sure if he's thought at the beginning of the race that he'd have a shot at the podium here. But with Yvonne having the bit of an issue there out of the turn, Croydon not particularly flying across the track, and Rosselli's just he's quite easily just behind Croydon, just trying to follow him and waiting for the opportunity to pass, I guess.
Indeed, and this could turn out to be an interesting battle. I mean, these two, oh, I see a bit of a wiggle there from Cronin as they came out of turn 12. That allowed Rosselli to get a little bit of a draft down the front straightaway. Just having a quick check in to the battle for 4th position in the GT class, I believe it is. And this is Hemi Ratto in the number 19 car. He has got Rupert Tequila right behind him. Sorry, I'm talking about Robin Friscop, sorry, in the 4th position, and Rupert Tequila right behind him. These two drivers, I mean, Tequila's got himself a bit of damage, you can see there, to the right rear of his car, but he's still really fast at the moment, and closing down Friscop's right behind him at the moment as they come through the S's.
And talking about Corvette situation at the lead, well, not actually postpone that, as Timo Ivonen made another mistake and got passed by both Rosselli and Cronin at once.
And things are going from bad to worse for Ivonen. I mean, for those of you just joining us, Timo Ivonen led the field to the green flag, had a great first half an hour of the race, and then things just started coming down. His lead went from 12 seconds down to 3. He lost out on pit road, and this allowed Tristan Jr., who started in 12th position, to get the race lead. And ever since then, even if it looks like he's been trying to close that gap back down, but he's really become incident prone in the second stint of this race. And just have a look. Doesn't look he's got any damage to his race car, which could be a contributing factor here.
We've got the battle going on once again in the HPD class for third position here. We've seen a lot of battle, not particularly in the mid-pack, but just yeah, just off the podium mainly. So battle for third position, Kroinen, Rosali and Ivonen. We've got battle in the GT1 class, which is mainly for the first position, but not now, as we've talked about this earlier. Bonito had a bit of a different pit strategy. He went out earlier, and Blake Townend was still standing still, refueling the car here. So we're expecting Townend on a longer middle stint. We've had about, what, 5 seconds gap maybe out of the pits, and just looking into it now, around 8. So, well, my prediction that Townend is really putting the hammer down, trying to close the gap here, has at least not completely worked for him for now, but I'm not really sure how Bonito's going to handle this. He's got lots of cars ahead of him right now, few lap cars to overtake, and well, Townend still got a fuel advantage, so definitely nothing decided here in the GT1 class. Yeah, and for Blake Townend, he obviously, with more fuel, he needs to be a little bit more careful on his tyres. I mean, for him, perhaps the best thing to do is, you know, just be nice to them for the next 10-15 laps or so, then start pushing. Of course, in the final pit stop, the swings and roundabouts, these drivers, you know, they'll be able to take less fuel in their final pit stop if he didn't top it all the way up to him this time by. So that's a bit of an advantage, but he needs to kind of keep in contact with Bonito for that to happen. Just having a look at Joni Hagner, our in-race supporter in the number 5 machine. We'll try and catch up with him at some point soon. Now, we talked about how he had some issues early on in this race. He's back out onto the racetrack, currently second in class, but this is mainly because of the fact that he's completely off sequence with everyone else. And this means that he's kind of got that position back for the time being, but he's going to have to come down pit road rather soon, Marius, and that's going to put him back down the pack once again. He has to, and it's getting quite hard to keep track of the order here, especially as we've got no time differences between the cars talking about pit stops. So if one has been refueling more or less across that, sorry, Will? Hagner was sideways there coming out of turn 7. He just lost himself about a second or so in the process. And what that's done is just allowing Heavy Ratto to close him down. And Ratto's only about 4 seconds back on the racetrack at the moment, so more mistakes like that by Hagner, and he's going to lose out second position. Right now, Hagner really just needs to keep that car on the road if he's going to have any chance of getting even a top 5 finish here today. Off the cameras, just 1 lap ago, Timo Ivonen has lost another spot yet again to Jeremy Bouteloup, so that puts him in 7th position. And I've been following the spectator chat for some time, and we've got many experienced drivers here, and well, some of them are suspecting him to overdrive the car, and some of them just have no clue what's going on. And well, compare this to the first stint. Well, I mean, he's been flying like hell in the first stint, and now he's basically not able to make this to copy this at all. Yeah, and this reminds me a little bit of what happened to Jason Lovett about half an hour ago. And Lovett went back from being in the 2nd position to where he is now in the 8th spot. And even it just looks as though he's on exactly the same course of action. And it could just be, you know, these drivers, they drive that car too hard. The tyre temperatures heat up too much. Especially you've got some fast corners here that really put a lot of strain on the wear and the pressures of these tyres. That, you know, if you heat them up too much, you either have to really tiptoe around for 2 laps or so, or you risk getting yourself sideways into the dirt. Risking yourself anything, basically. We've seen all of the examples what can happen. We've told you in the pre-race broadcast that definitely the guys want to go easy on this, and so far they have been going relatively easy. We've only got a few retirees here, starting with Ander Estefania, 9 laps down, currently in 35th position, so 34 cars still running, a few of them with problems, but okay, I mean, it's an endurance race, can happen always. And we've got Kevin Parrish in pits for a 2nd pit stop.
Yep, so she talks about this. Kevin Parrish pitted on lap number 14 of this race. So he's now down for his second pit stop here today. He's going to have to make this last tank of fuel last an hour and 15 minutes. I really doubt he's ready to do it.
I really don't think that, yeah.
Even if he goes into fuel saving mode now, I'd expect him to perhaps get to the 2:15, maybe 2:20 mark, but I don't expect him to get all the way to 2.5 hours into this race.
Meanwhile, we're on board with Roper Tequila here in his Ford GT2 class car. He's made up 1 second in the last lap. That's what Joni Backman, our cameraman, basically took here, and he's already got Guillermo Rato in front of him in sight. Rato, of course, in third position here. Tequila is basically on the run. His fastest lap is about 3/10 quicker than the one from Rato, and currently he's got nothing to fear from the rear, so he's really pushing this hard.
Indeed, and we are just now approaching the 1 hour 15-minute mark. Of course, those of you who are observant, that means we're approaching the halfway distance in this race. And Marius, as we do so, I'm just going to ask you, I mean, so far, one per class, I mean, who's really impressed you so far in this race?
One per class. I think so far it goes relatively easy for the HPDs. Even though it's been quite aggressive, I think Chris Dameron Jr. has made an excellent job. He's not really known for the most defensive driver, so he's usually going for the pass as soon as he gets the chance. But so far no incidents for him, and he's left the car pretty much undamaged through the traffic and is just leading the field here. 12 seconds in front of Roderick Croyne. I think, I'm not really sure about the GT1 class. We've got Enzo Bonito leading there, but with the pit stop difference, it could as well be Blake Townend in the last pit stop to really make this off. So I would just give it to Enzo Bonito and Blake Townend as well, because, well, compare them to the other field. Basically, they are doing excellent lap times all the way. They haven't really had much mistakes so far. And, well, Craig Hunter in third position is already half a lap down. More than half a lap, actually. It's about 50 seconds. So, shout goes out to both Bonito and Townend for the GT1 class.
Indeed, just believe that Jeremy Butler made a mistake coming out of the chicane just one lap ago. I'm just seeing if he had any damage to that number 10 machine. I'm not indeed sure that we did. He was able to just get away with that one there. But Dameron Jr., in fact, I believe Jeremy's got himself a black flag there for cutting the chicane and then not slowing down enough. I mean, and the issue is, especially if you've got cars formed around you, you can't really slow down too much, can you? Because, you know, you're going to get pushed pretty much all the way down the front straightaway.
Yeah, you don't want to slow down if you've got a car right behind you, so you really have to wait until you're safe. And, well, it's quite obvious when you have a black flag, but the car behind you doesn't really know what you're doing, so you just thinks you're letting him pass or what's going on, so you want to make sure you're really safe. And talking about Kevin Parrish, he's been in the pits, he's currently 1 minute down, and we're talking about 40 seconds pit stop time, about 40 seconds. So, well, he has to do another one. Even if it's just a splash and dash, he'll still take the time to come into the pits and drive out of them. And even then, I would currently think he's somewhere where Jörn Jens currently is. That would be 7th. Not really sure if that strategy pays off, but definitely he's out of the traffic right now. He's got no one around him to fight with. And maybe that's the thing you really want in this stage of the race.
Indeed, and just to give you an update from Rook Manzar in the number 37 machine, one driver we really thought was going to have a good chance of getting some places in this race is out. He got some damage to the side of his number 37 GT1 machine as he was coming through the S's, got himself caught up in a free wide incident and just cut across the nose of the number 20 car, really, is all I can say about that. And that was Eric Verdorf. And it just looks as though he got himself too much damage to that car. He is out of the race, as is Kurt Crum, and also Eric Verdorf now is out of the race as well. So the damage inflicted onto that number 20 machine has put both those two drivers out of the race there. Just going to check in with your race leader, Chris Dameron Jr. He is, of course, the race leader in the LMP2 class. Up to 15 seconds is the gap now Marius, but we said that about even earlier on in this race, and we saw that all go completely wrong. So Damon Jr. now up to 15-second gap, but this battle for second position is now Roger Cronin and Anthony Rosselli. But these two still aren't really racing each other too hard. But Rosselli does like to make some little pokes down into the chicane, especially to see if we can try and make it move fast.
Yeah, I'm just browsing through the grid basically. Lots of overtakes still going on, but I think with half the race done currently, 1 hour and 16 on the clock, I think by now people have really found the spots to overtake. They really read the enemies, they really read the friends, and really read the other cars, classes, blah, blah. Yeah, so I think my battery is going empty a bit. So still, we see no incidents so far. Pretty good track racing. No crashes in the past few minutes. I think it's about time that the guys really got into rhythm here.
Yeah, and rhythm, I mean, we talked about this at the start of the race, rhythm is really the order of the day. But the important thing with rhythm is not just when you're by yourself, but when you're navigating through traffic as well. Kind of knowing what parts of the racetrack your car handles better. You know, can you make a move on the outside or the inside there? Is it better to just wait before they get the better exit out of the corner to make use of one of these straightaways? A lot of these things these drivers have been working out for the first half of the race, and now it's time to put it into practice. I mean, you definitely can't take away Cronin and Rosselli out of this race, or Paul Inbrink. I mean, even if he gets his act together, I mean, he's still got a chance. I mean, of gaining those 21 seconds back up. Jerry Boosterloop in the number 10 car, you can still say he's got a shot of winning. I think, you know, we can for the moment put Bjorn Jens and Jason Lovett out of the picture in the LMP2 class, but in the GT1 class, I mean, Benito and Townend, that one can go on pretty much all race long. It can go either way as well. And with the strategy options that Benito's taken, for the time being, he's got the upper hand. But I mean, we know how Townend is at charging drivers down when he has to. And I really do think that 18 car still has got a shot at least of getting up to the rear spoiler of that number 8 car once again.
I definitely would agree. I mean, he wouldn't go with this strategy if he wouldn't see something in it. So he's probably thought this out all the way to the race, and he know that this works. I mean, I guess Blake, that's what I know him as, is a guy who's well prepared for this. So he's probably got the strategy sorted out, and he knows what he's doing by refueling the car a bit more than Enzo Benito. And he's also experienced enough to not get hectic right now and try to push the car too far, as he of course now knows that his move in the race will come.
Indeed, you see that Rosselli once again looking to the outside of Cronin as they came into the chicane. I think they're just playing out for time. We're going to check in Dave Dealing in the number 2 machine just in a moment as he comes up the hill to complete his 56th lap of the race. Marius, just take us through a lap in the eyes of a 40T driver. He's not got too much traffic behind him. He'll have Bjorn Jens catching him probably by the end of the S's though.
It's definitely a good chance to see him make the first turn without cars next to him, because usually that's the passing opportunity for the HPDs. Going through the second and third turn here, heavy over the right curve, not trying to unsettle the cars. We see Bjorn Jens breezing past here. You can almost not see him coming, and he's already passed. Still braking over the right curve here to the left and taking a lot of the exit curve here. Of course, offering the HPDs a good overtaking opportunity on the left. No car behind him right now, so he's going back to the left here, braking, trying to make the best turn here on the inside, taking the inside curve, braking once again, and the 90-degree handles here, right and right again, and he's got another HPD in his mirror, and now we're going to see, I think that is Jason Lovett, and you see him coming past now, and he's just about to appear on your right screen side, and he's passed, and well, he's not really that much faster, so as a Corvette, you can even fight against the HPDs on the straight. Of course, you have to brake earlier, but still the straight speeds are somewhat comparable. Over the left curve, over the right curve, very line here from Dave, not really unsettling his car, and you can really see that his setup seems to be working pretty well here. Forced through the last turn, just clipping the inside curve and wide out of the turn, avoiding the off track, and that is 1 lap in the view on the eyes of Dave Geeling around Road Atlanta.
and Geeling, as I say, is leading the way and pretty much has been dominant in that car all day today. We haven't, of course, had the opportunity to talk too much about the GT2 class, which is a shame because, you know, we've got some good drivers in here. You know, Yohami Rato's done a great job in that second position. But with Tequila, keep an eye out on him in the battle for the second position in class. Tequila's just been there like a hawk, really. Not really making any big moves. We talked about how he had some damage to the rear of that number 6 machine. I mean, if he can get himself a little bit of that repaired on his next pit stop, I really do expect him to try and challenge for that second position later on in this race.
Currently in just taking a look, he's made a second pit stop, currently in the 6th class position here. Joni Hagner is with us, our in-race reporter in the Ford GT. Of course, we've not got cautions in place here, so he's currently full on the gas here, being overtaken by Chris Dameron Jr. for of course, overall leader here, Blake Townend by him, and now he's on the straight. Joni Hagner, you've got a bit of a trouble in the beginning of the race. You've been off and apparently had a strategy change, running second for quite some time. What do you think, where you can go?
Yeah, I think bit contact with the other GT at the start, and
oh, big trouble ahead of him!
Joni, you just made it through that. We've got some good timing today here, and Blake Townend is off. Yeah,
sorry. Sorry to interrupt there, Yoda. It was Alex Guillaume there in the number 3 machine, and Ifan Burick in the number 21 into the chicane. It looked as though at the last minute, Aloma just tried to make a move using all of that curve. The number 21 machine just didn't see him. I think he just thought that it was Dameron Jr. that was coming past. Didn't expect Aloma to go past as well. The number 3 car then just gets into him, and then as cars were spinning, I believe that was Teddy Toronis who was sideways in the LMP2 machine. Townend comes around the corner, can't get on the brakes hard enough. The car spun right into his track, and the 18 car of Townend into the wall. He was able to get it. He wasn't able to get it down the pit road, so he had to there take a tow back towards the pit road, and that's really put Townend out of contention. You see the replay there, and we've lost the big hitter now in the GT1 class. We've had one out of the GT2, one out in the GT1. I don't want to put the commentator's curse on it, but next up is supposed to be the LMP.
I really don't want, it doesn't make me feel to talk about the cars anymore. It's really frightening. You've seen this out of the eyes from Joni Hagner here into the into the last turn of the track, of course. Eloma clearly on the inside of the other Corvette, the HPD in front of him, and it's just a tiny tap which sends the other Corvette driver F. Kambirkir sideways. And, well, Blake Townend just comes around the turn and can't do anything about that, so that's very unfortunate for Blake. And this increases the chances for Enzo Bonito by a huge lot here.
Indeed, yeah, there's no way that Townend's going to be able to get back into this race. I mean, we saw, of course, in the iRacing.com Grand Am Premier Series, how Selly was able to charge pretty much back into second position from the lap down. This type of racetrack, you're not able to do so, really. I mean, you have to be dominant by, you know, 3-4 seconds a lap, and then hope that traffic goes your way. We did also, had to cut off Joni Hagner there. We could just imagine the words he'd be saying in his cockpit, and we didn't want to broadcast it out on air, but we'll try and get back in contact with him, perhaps when he's going down pit road next time, so it'll be a bit safer.
Following the conversation in the chat, Blake currently out of the car completely, and well, understandably he's very angry here. 3rd year taken out is what he says, so that is very unfortunate for him. Of course, he's also talked about the situation in the pits with Enzo, and he's also given us the confirmation that Enzo has been taking a lower amount of fuel for the pit stop. So it really looks as though Blake was about 8 seconds behind. He's had the chance for the final stint, and it's probably that what he's been looking for. And unfortunately, he's got taken out prematurely and can't really make that one go.
Indeed, and the way the strategy works, as I say, by my watch, he was in the pit road for the fuel run for another 2.5 seconds. Now, that much additional fuel, he's probably only losing, you know, a couple of attempts here and there. But on his final stop, he would have had to take less fuel And when the car's lighter overall, I think Townend would have had the chance to close that gap back down. We won't know now, of course, and that's a disappointing thing. We've lost ourselves what would be a great strategic battle all the way to the end. We'll see whether Townend does get back in the car for this race, but hugely disappointing there for Blake Townend in the number... Sorry, Blake, I just lost my train of thought there. Hugely disappointing there for Blake Townend in the team machine. Driver from Bletchley, Milton Keynes, who actually lived really close by to at one point, and I know he puts a lot of time into these big races, and one of the drivers in the iRacing.com Grand Prix series, of course, which puts a lot of time into that driver, and he's going to be hugely disappointed. Having a look though at some of his teammates in the Radical team, Anthony Rosselli and Roderick Cronin, continuing their battle. This is the battle for second position in the LMP2 class. Roderick Cronin has kept that position pretty much all race long. And if you're Anthony Rosselli, what, are you just going to wait perhaps until the next pit stop and try and leapfrog him there?
It could be possible. It could really be. I mean, different strategies always have disadvantages and advantages, and with this one, it really could work. Especially in the HVD cars, I think we've got many different strategies. Still didn't figure out what Jörn and Kevin Parrish are going for. Chris Dameron Jr. current 13 seconds in the lead, but I would say this is far from being decided.
We've got a train right now of pretty much 4 of the GT drivers literally line up, one next to the other, next to the other, next to the other. Things are starting to get close back together, as we see so often in these races. And the GT1 and the GT2 field separate themselves out just a little bit, you know, get themselves a 2-3 second separation. But as traffic works its way through the race, some of these drivers end up closing back together once again. And there's some good battles going on the racetrack. Roman Friscops, of course, and Todd Carver, they are battling for position at the moment. Todd Carver, 4th in class, who has got, let's say, Friscops in the 5th position. The gap between those drivers is closing. It's only about 3 seconds on the racetrack now, and they've only got the 1 Corvette between them. And Friscops could use this to his advantage, because it looks as though that Corvette's just going to try and blast past him as they come out of the final corner. And
currently, I'm not really sure. I mean, all it takes is just one little tap for your race to be ended. Currently spectating Chris Dameron Jr. blazing past lapped cars, and there's 2 whites, 3 whites going on all across the track, and we've seen it with Blake Townend in the last turn. It's just enough if there's a little bit of time missing, and well, you look to the left, you look to the right, and if the car which causes the incident isn't there at that moment, you really think it isn't. So you make the move, and oof. And just talking about that, I'm really afraid to talk about this anymore. It seems to be absolutely dragging this onto. Guillermo Rato coming out of the turn, and just a little tap for Chris Dameron Jr., who's now attacking Kevin Parrish.
Yeah, and Rato, there's nothing, I think it was more the fact that Dameron thought he was clear, wasn't quite. You see that?
Spins across the grass, luckily.
Rato just took all the way to the grass there. I mean, he's going to have to really slow down now, and he's going to lose himself a position, but it was either that who could possibly end up just running into Chris Dameron Jr., and we'll try and get ourselves a replay of that, down into the chicane, and it just looks like Dameron Jr. was overtaking a slower LMP2 car and just locked up the brakes coming into the corner. Perhaps he had his brake gear set wrong there, and all of a sudden, Chris Dameron Jr., from being swimmingly in this race, no mistakes at all, spinning it, and he loses himself 13 seconds, and now he's got Roderick Cronin right behind him. So Cronin, from being almost out of this race, is really back into the picture now. And don't forget, Dameron Jr.'s tyre is going to be shot to pieces as well. Cronin has now got the chance to charge.
And Cronin is absolutely trying to make this as aggressive as he can. Just absolutely dive bombing the Guillermo Rato 4GT there. And not only is Roderick Cronin behind him, also Anthony Rosselli and Paul Ilbrink are closely following up. So if Chris Dameron Jr. really wants to make this last, he really has to take some aggression off there. Obviously, the last thing, nothing Kevin Parrish was involved in, just a complete rear lockup. But if he wants to make this one last, he can't just go so aggressive into the overtakings. I mean, one car not looking to the side enough, or maybe the little tap from Guillermo Rato, just a bit more of that, and it's completely enough to take you out.
Indeed there, and Cronin got held up a little bit there by Donstov in the number 14 machine, and he's been one of those drivers who's been really firm holding his line. You see a number of these Corvette drivers, they will just move to one side, give at least a car out width's room, but you see Donstov there has been very firm on his line through some of these faster corners. He doesn't want to have to lose too much time in his own race, and you know, he's perfectly entitled to do so. He is currently running in 6th in class in the GT1 class, currently scored 1 lap down from his class leader, which is Enzo Benito. That did cost Cronin there a good 2 seconds.
And you know what? It's an ongoing discussion, of course, everywhere on the forums, in the chat, and everywhere where's the opportunity to talk about it. It is, of course, the overtaking car's opportunity and responsibility, with a pass to make sure it goes safe. But even if you're overtaking a much slower car, you really have to make sure it is safe, as Chris Damron Jr. just starts his 75th lap of the race. He's already built a gap again. So if you go in a little too aggressive, it could very well be over in a matter of seconds. So, well, it's just under 1 hour to go. This is far from over, and I've just taken a look at the standings, basically. Well, you could take the standings from like lap 3, and the gaps are just the same. 6 seconds down in 6th position is Jeremy Bouteloup, and even Teemu Ivonen in 5th is just 5 seconds down anymore.
Precisely, and this race keeps on resetting itself. We saw it, you know, about half an hour into the first stint. All of a sudden, you saw how Ivonen was falling back dramatically. This stint, it's Chris Damron Jr. Perhaps it was just fatigue starting to set in. He fell back, and he's built that gap back up now to 3 seconds, but still, Damron Jr.'s kind of reset that LMP field. And it was almost going to be the same in the GT1 field of Benito and Tannen. Tannen was starting to close down Benito just a little bit before that huge crash there down in the chicane. And in the GT2 field, we've seen the same, of course, with the other drivers. Of course, it has just literally been the Dave Geeling show here in the GT2 field. Geeling just absolutely dominating. And in fact, the gap between Dave Geeling and Rupert Tequila is almost an entire lap.
That is
huge.
Indeed very impressive, with Daniel Lopez out of the race early there, and not really much competition for him. And still my eyes on the LMPs, just not that much overtaking right now, pretty much a clear track in front of them. So it could be now proven if Damron really has the pace, and his last lap 1 minute 9.4, 2/10 quicker than the one from Cronin, so he's still made the gap a little bit bigger. Gonna be a bit bigger this lap as well. But come to think about, I mean, we've seen in the first stint, mainly in the HPDs, it was Teemu Ivonen who blazed away from the field, made a 15-second gap, and well, then lost it basically all. In the second stint, we've got the same situation, Chris Damron Jr. taking over from Ivonen, creating an almost 15-second gap, and losing it as well. Yep. Oh, and talking about losing it, Paul Ilbring into the wall.
Oh, no, and the number 11 machine there, and it's just, I think fatigue's starting to sit in now. You just saw he clipped, yeah, just, I mean, we're talking inches here. He just took a wide angle into turn number 1, just caught the edge of that grass there, just spun him around and into the wall. I think you just need to get away with that longer term. Just a little bit of side damage to that thing there. I'm having a look to see how badly it's affected. Not too badly. We need to keep an eye out. You see the replay on your screen there. But Ilbrink, you know, he's the latest one to make a mistake. He's lost the position there to Ivonen. And I believe he's also lost it to Bouteloup as well. So we him back down into the 6th position as Mario. So we've still got ourselves an hour left of racing to go. And this is, don't forget, the longest of all the World Tour events that we do this year on the roadside. I mean, 2.5 hours. It's the longest race that we do pretty much by far. The only exception being the 2.4 hours of Daytona, which starts the season and finished the season with pretty much the same length. And it really, and always made exactly the same mistake into turn 1. Just see how wide he goes. Next time we'll have a look into turn number 1. How wide he goes into turn 1. Just how much of that run-off area he uses as he arcs the car in.
Yeah, this is really all it takes. We've seen it doesn't really need a big impact, it doesn't really need a big fault, but we've seen Paul just really, I mean, it was basically the outside of the tire. It's enough to put the car sideways, and you're basically entering the first turn as far from the outside as you can. And putting a wheel to the grass there, it's over immediately. And you're talking about fatigue and maybe a bit of concentration lacking here. We've only yet got 1 hour and 40 done here in the race. So 50 minutes, 53 minutes to be precise, on the clock right now to go. And we've still not had the second pit stop for most of the cars, except for Kevin Parrish in 12th. And there's a lot to go for these guys. And if they want to start making mistakes right now, this will have pretty big consequences to the finish.
Indeed, and the second pit stop is going to be critical for these drivers, because as I've talked about at the start of this broadcast, pit entry is so scary here. You really have to commit yourself. Worn tyres, you know, after an hour 40, hour 45 of racing, really does get tough, and you expect to see one driver, I expect at least, to really mess it up. And once you commit to pit road as well, you know, if you only got 1 lap left of fuel and you miss pit entry, you're stuffed. You're pretty much going to have to get a tow back towards pit road, but it's so easy to miss.
Absolutely, and it's not just the pit entry. I mean, the whole track's basically the pit entry. Any corner, just slightly miss it. The curb, there's no runoff areas. If you're on the curb, if you brake on a curb, the next thing to the curb is most likely grass or gravel. So if you just clip a bit off the curb too much, you're basically off. And that goes for every single turn of the track, and especially in the first turn as you approach it with about 270 kilometers an hour. A slight mistake is absolutely death.
And for those of you, again, who'd like to work miles per hour, that's about 170 miles an hour. Just kidding. I just want to talk about Rosselli. Anthony Rosselli, we talked about him earlier on in this race quite a lot. But, I mean, Rosselli, out of all these drivers, he won the iRacing.com Grandman Premier Series this year. And they did involve some long races of around 2 hours in length. So he's got that part of it down. He's raced some of these endurance races for more than most in this field. So he's got the stamina in there. Normally you talk about Rosselli having to bounce back from an early mistake. This time it's not been that, you know, to harm his chances. So now he really has got a chance to just, you know, use that final stint to charge in the field as we've seen him do. But he's just dropped off for about a second and a half of Roger Cronin in that battle for second position in the last couple of laps or so. Do you think Rosselli's trying to cool his tyres down a little bit to make a charge as the sequence of pit stop starts opening up once again?
I don't think this gap is too bad. We're basically talking about high downforce prototypes. We've talked about that all the time, and I think Enzo Bonito's just spun in the final turn. Yes, and he's into the wall.
Yeah,
heavily into the wall.
Benito's days pretty much is done in the number 8 machine. You see that he is struggling to get that car back towards pit road now. He's got the entire racetrack left to go, and cars are swarming around him there. Benito is just thinking, is there a way that I can cut half this track off and just come back towards pit road? Thankfully now, he's done the hard part. It's just a couple of corners of a straightaway, really.
And he almost took out the leaders. I mean, that's been incredibly close with Enzo Bonito right there. And, well, Craig Hunter currently is in second position, and Enzo Bonito's got half of the track to go, and with that much damage, the pit crew's not going to let him go easily.
Indeed, no. And we talked about how this field keeps on resetting itself. Now it's Bonito who, from the race lead, his day is pretty much over. And at this time, I'd like to welcome in Blake Townend. Blake, your day was looking as though it's going to be incredibly interesting for that second and third stint, and then it all went wrong down at the chicane. Take us through it.
Yeah, unfortunately, Aloma was battling someone else, and they made contact, and unfortunately, I had nowhere to go, and it happened so quick. There was nothing I could do, and it was also going to be really hard trying to pass them two guys who were battling for 4th and 5th. So trying to catch Ento up was going to be a challenge from there on.
And it looked as though Benito just took less fuel in that first pit stop. Did you fill your tank all the way up to the top? And were you just hoping to do the kind of splash and dash at the end? Or what was your strategy?
Yeah, just get fuel. I think it's probably better to go with heavy fuel in a chaotic race like this. So yeah, it was going to be quite tough.
10-4, and so we've seen some great performances from you this year in World Tour events and of course in the Grand Am Premier Series. What's your plans for the rest of this year? Looking forward to next?
Have a holiday.
A holiday. Not to worry. Well, Blake, thanks for talking to us. We'll see you hopefully again in World Tour events next year here on iRacing. Thank you for talking to us.
Thank you. Cheers.
And Marius, once again, the GT1 field is just shaking itself back up, and now looks like your race leader is going to be Craig Hunter in the number 24 machine.
Well, not yet, and well, Enzo and Craig have been in the pits at simultaneous times, and still Enzo is in the pit now. We're going to keep track of if he's going to last, but so far I think we've got a pit stop.
Yeah, and we've seen a couple of drivers are down on pit road at the moment. Dave Gielink is on pit road, the race leader in the GT2 class. Yuri Mantia is also on pit road for the time being. As we say, while we were talking to Townend, we had Chris Damon Jr. come in from the race lead in the LMP2 class. He's now working his way through heaps of traffic down into turn number 7 and a sideway LMP2 car. That is the number 41 machine ahead of him. But he's Roger Cronin in the number 28 car, currently your race leader, who had Alessia Loma very close to him as they came out of turn number 2. I thought that was his teammate. Indeed, it wasn't. It was Loma who very close between the number 3 machine and the 28 car. But it is Cronin, your race leader, with now Anthony Maselli sat in the 2nd position, Jeremy Bootleap in 3rd, and Timo Evelyn is in the 4th position. Evelyn looks like he's coming back into this picture now. He struggled for about half an hour, 45 minutes. Now he's back into the frame.
Especially, you said that, especially because I've just been taking a look at when Chris Damon Jr. exactly made his pit stop, and he's been early in the pits, very early to be exact. He's by far making the longest stint in this race, and it could just be on the very edge of the fuel limit. He's suspected to be going just under 50 minutes actually. So this is what's considered the fuel limit. We knew that he was quite light, obviously gained a lot on the pit stop, but not that light. I really hope he's got enough fuel to make this last.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting if Damon comes back out in front, where he's going to try and regulate the pace for a little bit. I mean, we've seen how difficult passing can be, and you know, if you are going to have to try and save yourself half a lap of fuel, you can do so by moderating the pace, especially through turns 2, 3, 4, 5. And 6, but then you've really got to be on it, you know, 7 and 8 especially, and then down the back straight away into the chicane.
And with Damon Jr. now early in the pits, he's of course got a set of fresh tires, which probably will save him the lead so far, but Croinen, Roselli, Bootleap, Evon, and all of these guys probably take about 5-6 more laps to pit. And until then, they'll be on the worst set of tires, obviously less fuel, but still not able to really make the lap time so good. But then they'll switch to the good tires, and they'll have these 6-7 laps on the end, as we've got the first few cars pitting in, and it is in fact everyone except for Anthony Roselli.
Yeah, Roselli is going to go and try and lead the lap. Roger Cronin is on pit road. We've got a number of cars down. Friskops is on pit road at the moment. Evelyn is on pit road. Bootleap on pit road. Ilbrank is on pit road. It's a very busy place here, and it's going to be very, very dangerous on the way back out if these drivers come out together. And this is where strategy will really come into play. Some drivers perhaps might try and take a tiny bit less, work on the limit if they can. And we've seen this before in races, you know, if the time clock goes one lap in the wrong direction for people, some drivers could run out of fuel here because they are literally going to try and work themselves to the limit here.
I mean, Rosselli has to try it. He definitely wants to go at least for the podium here, but with this strategy, it could even last for the win. Although he has traffic now in great lots, and Jan Jens, I wonder what's going on there on the straight. Just looked like a bit of lag contact, but no, I think that has been indeed contact, and out of the pits goes Kroinen, Bouteloup, and Yvonne, and no real changes there. And it looks as Anthony Rosselli got, he's got big contact on the back straight.
Yeah, that's crazy that what happened. Rosselli, I don't know what, really, that was confusing what happened with Rosselli. He's down on pit road anyway. We'll see how much he lost out there, because, you know, he would have probably been about a second behind the leaders as they all came in. Now we'll have a look to see how he is as they come out. All of these drivers are going to stream past him in a couple of corners time if he's not careful. Roger Kronen was out back onto the racetrack. It was everyone behind him. Bouteloup came out in second out of that train, with Evening in the third spot out of those drivers. So Bouteloup was the biggest gainer on that race on pit road there. We're keeping an eye on Rosselli. We're keeping an eye on Dameron Jr. Rosselli is still on pit road. This gives Dameron Jr. back the race lead. And looking now for Roger Kronen, indeed, he's coming down into turn number 1. And Anthony Rosselli now coming out. Rosselli there lost himself about 3 seconds.
I'm not really sure. I've been looking at this a couple of times now. It really looks like some weird network connection problem. It doesn't look like they've been aware of each other, so just ran into each other on the straight. I just wonder how much damage he took and where he's able to exit the pits now, and if he's still got chances.
Yeah, it looks like for Rosselli, he had to stay in pit road just for a couple of seconds so they could bang together that car just a little bit. And don't forget, these cars, you can pretty much replace the entire front end really quickly if you have to. While you're putting the fuel on the cars, of course, you've got to put the tyres on first before you can really do that. But Rosselli now, I mean, he was looking solid for a podium finish, but now Rosselli's got to do what Rosselli does best, and that is try and charge. It is Chris Dameron Jr., your race leader, now in the LMP2 class, with Roger Kronen in second. Jeremy Bouteloup moved him up into a podium position in the number 10 machine, with Timo Ivonen in 4th position, and Paul Ilbrandt, I believe, down into the 6th spot. So indeed, Rosselli did come out ahead of him. Flicking over to the GT1 class momentarily, it is Enzo Benito, still your race leader. Very lucky there, he was able to drive back to pit road and not lose too much time. We'll have to keep an eye out on whose fuel situation though, because I believe he's on the very edge of a pit window, having to reshuffle his strategy. Craig Hunter is in the 2nd position, with Jan Wedin in the 3rd spot. Don Saab is in the 4th position, with Alexei Aloma in the 5th position. And it is Dave Geelink in 1st position in the GT2 class. Rupert Tequila in 2nd position in the GT2. We've got Henry Rasso in 3rd, Tom Carver in 4th, and Robin Biscops running out your top 5. Marius, talk to me.
Talk for a moment. All right. Well, we've got the 2nd pit stop done for all of the HPDs right now, and not really much changes except for the little issue with Rosselli there. And now it's really onto the track. Most of the guys have got similar fuel. And currently the gap between Dameron Jr. and 2nd place Roderick Kroinen is 8 seconds. So I hope Dameron Jr. really comes through the traffic great and without any problems here. So he's really going to make this last. But for Kroinen, Bouteloup and Yvonen, it's the question, will they go for the lead? 8 seconds definitely is a great lot. Or will they go and basically wait for Dameron Jr. to save fuel or to make a mistake and try to make the 2nd place last? I mean, it's basically the job for Bouteloup and Yvonen to either follow Kroinen and basically push him towards the 1st position, or attack him. And if they start attacking him prematurely, they'll just start losing time. Rosselli closes up, Ilbring closes up, and even Parrish closes up right now. And then it's a 7-way battle, actually 6-way battle for the 2nd position. And still then, we're not entirely sure how much fuel Chris Dameron Jr. has, and if this is really enough to make it last.
Indeed, and this is really going to get interesting, especially in the LMP2 class. It looks like for the time being, the GT1 and GT2 classes have kind of sorted themselves out. Having a look through the field, and for example, Craig Hunter is a full 15 seconds ahead of Jan Wedding, who in turn has got himself about a 4-second gap over Donsoff, and Alomis even further back. And they're the only 4 drivers really in contention for the last 2 podium positions. And then in the GT2 class, I mean, Tequila has been really driving his heart out, but in fact, Tequila looks like he's come down to pit road or something. Something's happened to the number 6 machine.
Not entirely sure. Has he been to the normal pit stop? Well, his car's definitely not looking...
No, he's back out. He's had himself some repairs. You can just see to the rear end of that car. I talked about how it looks like he literally just got smashed on the rear end there in that number 6 machine. But it looks like the pit crew have managed to sort that out. They've put some new body work onto it, sorted it all out there. But yeah, he's back onto the track and he's sat in 2nd position, but he's a full lap behind Dave Geenick now. He's just dominated this race. And the GT2 field really has going to spread itself out as well in turn. It looks as though that Kimmo Schulman is out of the race though for the time being. So that's going to be hugely disappointing for him in the number 1 machine. He's had a difficult day. He was really one of those drivers who expected Marius to be challenging for at least a podium position in that number 1 machine.
Definitely, Kimmo definitely known in the community for one of the fastest guys in the Corvette here. Made a great performance in the early prototype and GT challenge and as well in the Corvette challenge. He's always been one contender for the lead and for the race win. So 22nd position right now is obviously going to be tossed down all the way to 29th here. Very unlucky for him, so we've only got actually 5 Corvettes in contention here for the win. Enzo Bonito's pit crew made a good job. His car seems all back together, so he's probably looking to drive this one home. Craig Hunter in 2nd, Donsoff in 3rd, and Jan Vedin in 4th, together with Alexei Ilova completing the top 5 here, and all seem very much apart from each other. So I don't really think there's anyone trying to charge down another. They just try to bring this home. I mean, they've left 6 people behind them, together with Blake Town and 5 other Corvettes, DNF so far. Suominen in the latest one of them, and it really looks as these 5 are the ones to make this one last and to really finish the race. And, well, 2 hours almost crossed, and it's a lot of stuff going on the track, a lot of incidents, a lot of dangerous maneuvers ending in the wall. So far, Chris Dameron Jr. still leading the pack, still hardly fought for the 2nd position. Roderick Croynan 2nd, Jeremy Bouteloup in 3rd, followed by Timo Ibonen in 4th, together with Paul Ilring, Anthony Roselli and Kevin Parrish. The other 3-way pack there following for the 4th position. Well, I can't really say anything is decided now, but definitely for 2nd and 5th it isn't.
I tell you what though, Dameron Jr. made a huge, bold, 3-wide manoeuvre about a lap ago down into turn number, I think it was turn number 3 actually, yeah. I have no idea how he managed to make it happen. I take it back, it was down into turn number 2. He had the number 40 machine on Mantia on his right hand side. He had Joni Hagner on his left hand side, the number 5 GT2 machine. And Dameron Jr. just blitzed through them in the middle like there was no tomorrow. And that car has been amazing at the moment. I believe actually we've had an incident involving Jeremy Bouteloup in the number 10 machine and Joni Hagner in the number 38 car. So Joni Hagner looks as though he's got himself some damage to that GT2 number 5 machine. Bouteloup in the number 10 car. Just have a look to see whether he's got some damage you see there to the left, right hand side, even right front side of that number 10 car. So he's really going to be struggling now. And we talked about how he was a contender for a podium position. That aerodynamic damage really is going to hurt him. We'll be back in a moment after this message. Of course, the Proto Ice Series coming your way all season long here live on Glacier TV. Your chance to race for up to $1,000 starting next Saturday. And of course, Glacier TV also the home of the 2012 Road Pro Series, the road to the iRacing.com Grand Prix World Championship Series. It's going to be all season long next season on Glacier TV. And we talked about how Jeremy Butler in the number 10 car had that contact with Joni Hagner. It doesn't seem to have hurt him that much. And that number 10 car still keeping Timo Ivonen at bay, who looks as though he just faded in the second half of the race. I mean, he closed that gap back down. As Kevin Parrish, I believe, is actually having a run on Paul Ibrahim. This is about for the 5th position, coming down into the chicane. Parrish looking to the outside line, not going to make it happen. But going back to Butler, doesn't look like that damage hurt him too much, and also Ivonen really not shining as much in the second half of the race as he did in the first.
The little issue he had, nevertheless, Jeremy Butler in the first turn has benefited Roderick Croynen, as he's out of slipstream distance, 1.5 seconds ahead of Butterloop and Ivonen. Ivonen still following the Frenchman in third, and last lap hasn't been so good for Chris Dameron Jr. He's lost about 2 seconds there, and
Parrish goes past. So Parrish goes past as Paul Lindgren goes very, very wide down into turn number 3. Parrish just literally didn't look as though that car wanted to turn into him. Take that back, that was in turn 4. He just clipped the curve a little bit, and that just caused that car to straight line, had to get completely out the gas. Kevin Parrish not only goes past, he goes past and gets himself a half-second lead immediately. And now, to add insult to injury, Paul Inrank just there having to get himself past Dave Geeling, which held him up a little bit further and cost him the chance to react immediately.
well, it's half an hour to go, exactly on the dot right now, and we've got Chris Dameron Jr. still in the lead for the past hour, let's say, and he's still being followed by Roderick Croynen, and 6.6 seconds this time by. It looks that Roderick Croynen is not really settling down to second position, is he? I mean, he's made up 2 seconds now. He's probably seen that, or he has people telling him that. As well goes for Butterloop and Ivonen. They are all looking to profit from eventual fights between Croynen and Dameron, or mistakes from Dameron alone. Half an hour to go in a 2.5 hour race. We could have basically just started now, and nothing is decided.
Well, yeah, indeed, but the issue is this last half an hour takes so much out of these drivers. You know, Dameron Jr., he made a mistake about 20 minutes ago, which cost him the huge 13-second lead he'd built up. The same 13-second lead that Ivonen built up at the first stint of this race. So if you expect some surprises, expect them to come in the next 15 minutes or so. Dameron Jr. is not out of the woods yet. He's still got to really push that car, because if he starts tiptoeing around traffic, that gap will be gone before we can say anything else. I think, though, Cronin's really the only person who can contend. I don't think Butterloop's really got the car underneath him at the moment. And as I said, even unless he really starts kicking into gear now, he's not going to have the chance either. But that gap now is down to just over 5 seconds. Cronin really is closing down Dameron Jr. And could that number 28 machine close? If that even closes the gap in the next 15 minutes or so, he's going to have himself a good 10 laps to try and make that pass happen.
It's probably going to give Chris Dameron Jr. a bit of a gap back this lap. We've seen Roderick Croynen in heavy traffic there with Jan Wedin, the 4th place Corvette at the moment. So all of the three-way past him. Still, it is quite a bit of a gap, 4 seconds actually, between Parrish, Ilbrink, Roselli and the cars ahead. Roselli's been losing the battle for 6th position. He's been dropping back 7 seconds to 6th right now. I think, well, it hurts to say, Roselli made a brilliant race for now, but 7 seconds to make up just for place 6, that will be a really hard job in half an hour.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Roselli's charge, and we talked about this about an hour ago. Roselli really can push it when he has to. He's pushed, I've seen him come back from a lap down to take second position in races before. He can do it. Whether he's got the car underneath him to do it is another question. This has been a very competitive field here today, and one thing we've noticed, one little mistake costs you 2-3 positions not 2-3 seconds, as we see at some other places. This Road Atlanta track, in its 2.54 mile beauty, I mean, it really is that smiling killer. It just wants to tempt you into those corners and then just spit you out into the wall, into mistake, if you even give it half a chance. Damon Jr.'s got that gap back up to 7.5 seconds. Just checking in on Enzo Benito in the number 8 machine. He is currently your race leader, of course, in the GT1 car. Had himself that hairy moment we talked about earlier on, but it really, he's just a million miles away now from Craig Hunter. And the GT1 field spread itself out, which, to be fair, all it really does is it helps the LMP drivers, so they're picking them off one at a time, rather than having to weave through packs of them.
The field has been spread out quite a bit, and we've got about 26, 27 cars here in contention so far, with 41 cars started. I think that's still a really good quote. I remember that until 1 hour into the race, we haven't really had more than 2 retirees, and judging about this track, 41 cars is quite a lot. We've got 3 different categories, of course, the HPD, Corvette and Ford GT, and it is quite a recipe for mayhem, but still the guys have been managing it brilliantly. Of course, for the past few minutes we've been following the HPD battle around second position here. Roderick Troinen defending against Jeremy Bouteloup and Timo Ivonen, and still trying to close the gap to first. And well, I'm pretty sure if you see this with the Glacier TV Proto Ice coming up, this should really, I mean, you can't really be more motivated than this.
Indeed, yeah, and a number of those drivers, you know, will be racing in the Proto Ice series, which I tell you what, it's going to be immense fun to commentate. Most for the fact that these drivers are going to have to try and overtake. We've seen a lot of overtaking here today, but we've also seen drivers who's very good at pulling out, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 second leads. And the Proto Ice series is going to be a mixture of both. You know, how do you run in traffic, and how do you want to have the opportunity to clean air? Of course, the Proto Ice series coming your way in next Saturday here live, of course, on Glacier TV. And looking forward to seeing that. And I was just thinking back and getting all misty-eyed, this being the last of the regular World Tour events of the year, this has got to be one of the toughest ones on the roadside way. I mean, we compare this to the other races we've seen, the essentially is the LAMS cars of the LMP2s, the GT1s and GT2 cars. Compare that to we raced at Sebring earlier on this season, and of course we've had the Grand Am cars racing at Le Mans and the 2.4 hours of Daytona, but this really has got to be the most technical of all of them, because you just haven't got time to breathe there, as Aloma in the number 3 car just getting very loose on the straightaway, in fact running into the grass. This is probably the most technical and the most tiring of all the races that we've done this season.
Definitely. I mean, we've seen races here in the past with the Drivers' World Championship. We've had the Grand Am here, we've had the Prototype and GT series here, but now 2.5 hours in these cars, basically the HPDs are Formula cars with a chassis over it. It's just hugely exhausting.
Chris Damon Jr. is still your race leader, as we've got ourselves now less than half an hour left to go here in what is the final regular World Tour event of the year, the iRacing.com Petit Le Mans, presented to you today by Glacier TV, the home of the 2012 Road Pro Series. For more information on that, of course, go to iRacing.com, or eventually stream live here on Glacier TV. Let's check in on Dave Geeling, the number 2 machine momentarily. Again, the GT2 field, it's really spread itself out, which is the benefit to really all drivers concerned. Dave Geeling, in fact, is going to put a lap on Tom Carver in just a couple of moments' time. And Geeling's just had it all his way here today. We talk about how earlier on he had a bit of a challenge from Yoni Hagner, and he had a bit of a challenge, from Yoni Hagner, and that just disappeared. And also Daniel Lopez as well, who started that race in pole position in class, was also eliminated early on this race. So it's all been going Dave Geeling's way here today. But I think deep down on that number 2 machine, he would have wanted a little bit more racing, because this has been almost a bit too easy for him.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen Daniel Lopez and him fight all the way in the past, well, not for the past hour, for the beginning of the race, I'd say 45 minutes at least. Of course, both of them known since the DWC and also the past Pro Series. Both of them experts in the F1, and You just see they are very flexible. They can do this as well as probably the F1 car. And Lopez against Gehling sounds like a classic battle, and this has been for the first couple of laps.
And of course, the last half an hour on Twitter, well, we're going to ask you the question: who do you think? Do you think Roger Cronin has the chance to close down Chris Damon Jr.? Damon Jr. We've seen him pull out these leads of 8, 9, 10 seconds about 3 times now in the last hour or so. But each time it keeps on closing down, be it through Cronin on the charge, be it through traffic, be it through Damon Jr. making a mistake. We saw him made that mistake on the chicane. So what we want to know on Twitter is the hashtag #IR Petit Le Mans. Can Damon Jr. bring this one home, or will Roger Cronin have the chance to catch and pass him? Let us know on Twitter again, the hashtag #IR Petit Le Mans. And Marius, your thoughts on that?
I think Chris Damon Jr. has this. I mean, they are not really fighting for second position. I still think if Bouteloup gets the chance, or Yvonne gets the chance to make a pass on one another, I think they'll still go for it. They'll see the gap. They've probably got their team in TeamSpeak telling them what to do, or giving them suggestions rather. And with 8 seconds, against the pace of Chris Damon Jr., I don't think you can even do it on a free track. If Chris Damon Jr. doesn't run into big problems, I think he'll have it.
But again, we talk about a free track, you know, anyone could post anytime they really wanted to. And we talk about how traffic's been a big factor in this race, and you see at the moment these drivers, Cronin, Bouteloup, even and they're just having to get themselves around Alessi Iloma there. Alessi Iloma really pushing in that.
And pass for Yvonne. Pass for Yvonne, and he's made the pass here. Oh, and that's very close. Is he? Bouteloup off.
That's the second time he's gone off at that corner here today. I mean, that was a very bold move. You don't like passing to turn number 1. They're 3 wide going in. It just looks as though Bouteloup just didn't get his line right. I know he likes coming all the way out on the edge of the track, but he was trying to get past Alessi Iloma at the same time, and 3 into 2 doesn't always work.
It really doesn't. Into the first turn, it just seemed like Teemu Ivonen tried to squeeze down to the inside, basically. It was all the way down the inside, as we've got a replay with what's just happened. I think on the outside, Jeremy just tried to close in and make it as small of a gap as possible to his right to squeeze down Ivonen, but he basically squeezed himself out as he ran out of track coming out of the first turn.
So, make the battle for second position iRacing. It's Roger Cronin, he's off! Roger Cronin is off in the chicane, and it looks as though there was incident happening ahead of him. That was Imkan Berkey in the number 21 GT1 machine, coming up to put a lap to overtake, I believe, Yuri Mantila, and just the 2 cars come together there. Mantila, nothing he can do. At the same time, Cronin just literally coming through the chicane. I'm having a look a bit on him now, coming through the chicane. You just saw there how the number 40 machine on Mantila there just slides back onto the track. Nothing he can do, but Cronin in turn just gets spun around. He's got some damage to his left-hand side car, and there's always something that happens. You know, if you've got a car spinning on the chicane, they're always going to come back onto the track because you just have no grip onto that grass.
And Efkan Birki just completely missed his braking point. He almost had it back again, but he lifted the brake and ran onto the rear of Jari Mantila, I think, the 11th placed HPD. Efkan Birki, nevertheless, is 11 laps actually down from the Corvette lead, so that was very unnecessary, and it completely took out Roderick Croyne, and Teemu Ivonen just got passed by literally a few centimeters.
Yeah, and I think Mantila will be having a word with the iRacing first stewards after this race. And it's one of those sort of things, you know, that Mantila was 1 lap down, but he scored in the 11th position. And for these drivers, they just want to bring their car home in one piece. We talk about things like iRating, safety rating. They've got that they want to preserve. And Mantila was actually on a good iRating haul coming into this race, where the position where he was. That's going to be hugely disappointing to him. What this does do, however, is it moves Evelyn back into the 2nd position, but he's 12 seconds behind Damon Jr. with 20 minutes to go. It's going to be the drive of his life. He's going to try and close that gap down. Just having a look, it's 12.27 seconds. and we'll have a look at Cronin. He's fallen back now.
Yeah, he's done for. It
Yeah.
really looks as if he's done for. He's moved into the pits and apparently got out of the car here. And of course that gives a position to all the cars behind him, especially Roselli and Jens, of course, now in 6th and 7th position respectively. And we've talked about Roselli quite a lot. He's only about 6 seconds behind Ilbring now, and well, Ilbring hasn't been really so consistent in the first turn, and it looks like his car also has some minor damage. So I'm not really sure if Roselli is able to close the gap. Still, that tumbled the situation down quite a bit.
Indeed, yeah, and that's hugely disappointing for Cronin. I was talking to, let's say, the Radical team manager, Anna Kerstoff, earlier on, and he was saying that he was just telling his drivers to take it easy and not really worry too much about pushing for the win unless they knew they had it in them. And that was one of those times that, you know, Cronin, there's nothing he could do at all. He came out of the chicane and that car just came on the track at exactly the wrong moment. And I mean, Cronin could have stamped on the brakes and hope he would have spun and then try and diverted him. But when you're racing, you know, at speeds of over 100 miles an hour, there's nothing you can do, and you're still racing all the time. Disappointing for him, but we still got ourselves an interesting battle here. Can we see whether Even can close down Damron Jr.? He took out half a second on that last lap, but he needs more. He needs a second a lap now. He's got any chance of catching that 17 car, but we've seen before that Damron Jr. is prone to making the odd mistake, so you never know.
I really think either this is the time for Timo Ivonen to decide to really go for it, or let it be. If he's really want to go for it with 20 minutes left on the clock, he probably sees after 3 laps if he's got the chance. If he can really benefit significantly in the next 2-3 laps, he immediately knows that it shouldn't be possible. He's got 9 seconds to the rear. It could be quite a breeze for him now to hold second position, as well as for Bouteloup to hold third. He's also got 7 seconds to the rear, but well, these guys are still racers, and we've seen stuff could happen virtually in the last turn of the last lap. And with Cronin out just 2 laps ago, well, if you see the checkered flag, you can count yourself as a winner, and that still goes for second position. I mean, Cronin probably thought, well, if it isn't second, it probably is third or fourth, but he definitely didn't expect that.
Indeed, yeah, and keeping an eye out on Even, and he only closed by about 1/10 of a second that previous lap. And to throw the curveball in there, remember, I talked about when Damron came into pit road, whether or not he had enough fuel to make it to the end. I mean, with a 12.8 second buffer this has gone up to now, you can pretty much coast it all the way down if you can make it out of the final chicane and fuel cuts out then. So he's probably bearing that in mind. But if Damron Jr.'s got enough fuel, he's pretty much good to go for this race now. And I've got a feeling that Evenen is going to have the chance, you know, to stay for second position. For having a look now at the battle for the 6th position, this is Jean Jens and Jason Lovett. We haven't talked about Lovett for a while, and he was running in second position for a large part of this race. Made the move there on at Jean Jens down into turn number 7. A beautiful pass there, Marius.
Definitely, and well, both of them, we haven't really talked about them for quite a while. Lovett has been falling back from the second position early in the race, and as well Jens, I think he's been third. He started in quite a good position. He has started in 4th with a 107.98. We've really expected him to go and at least do a top 5 finish. Well, now he's 7th, and this isn't really brought home yet. He's still got Kevin Parrish right behind him, and Jason Lovett, of course, right in front of him. So currently for 6th position, the hottest batter on the track in the HPD class, nothing is really decided yet.
And it all comes back, you know, I'm fascinated by Lovett and the 25 card, because he was doing so well early on in this race. We saw he had a little bit of damage, but I mean, that doesn't really account for the 54-second gap behind the race leader that he is now. Just take us through the psychology, Marius, of all of these races. You know, they are so tough. And it just looks as though Lovett put all of his eggs into one basket early on, and then it looks as though he almost just tired himself out.
I'm still not entirely sure what happened. I mean, Jason Lovett, I know him from Little Speed for a couple of years. He's always been pretty good in endurance races and definitely experienced enough to judge his strategy on this race. He's probably seen something in this. I mean, it's the same thing with short fueling, with longer fueling, and with basically any decision you do whilst racing. You have to see something in it to make sense. and so probably did Lovett, as he's just overtaken Alexei Aloma and probably gained about second to Jörn Jens right there. So Lovett now in 6th position. It could have been more, I'm definitely sure, but I'm not really sure what happened or what really couldn't make him go more. I'm still suspecting some damage, but well, we'll know soon.
Indeed, and that battle for 6th, 7th and 8th on the racetrack is still very close, separated by less than 2.5 seconds. Jason Lovett in the number 25 machine is sat in the 6th position with Jörn Jens in the 26 car. Sat in at the 7th position, Kevin Parrish just sat there stalking. We've seen Parrish, you know, he's been able to make some big moves in this race. The last couple of laps, I expect him to at least make one more of them. To run through your top 5 in each class. You have 15 minutes left to go here of the iRacing.com Petit Le Mans, brought to you by Glacier TV. Chris Dameron Jr. leading the way in the LMP2 class with Timo Evening in the 2nd position.
There's been a big fault for Chris Dameron Jr. the last lap. I'm afraid we completely missed that, and that was turn 3 with Fernando M. Seixas right ahead of him, and Chris Dameron Jr. tried to slow down, but he didn't slow down enough and just clipped the rear of Seixas there, and he's lost exactly 10 seconds. 2.6 to Ivonen.
And this is what we were talking about for Even, and it looked as though actually Even was about ready to give up. We saw him, he lost about 1.5 seconds in the space of 2 laps there. It looked as though he was on cruise control. All of a sudden now, Even has got a shot of winning this race once again. So it is Dameron Jr. first in the LMP2 class, Even in the 2nd, Boosleep in 3rd, Ilbrank in 4th, Rostelli in the 5th position. Moving over to your GT1 class, it is Benito leading by a full lap over Craig Hunter in 2nd, Alessia Loma in the 3rd position, Jan Wedden in 4th, and Gini Donsov in the 5th position. Then in the GT2s, it is Dave Geeling from Rupert Akila, Rohemi Rato, Top Carver, and Uni Hagen rounding out your top 5. And Marius, this is now going to get interesting.
It's going to be absolutely staggering, and we've got once again the battle between Jörn Jens, Kevin Parrish, and Jason Lovett, and this time it is Kevin Parrish right behind Jörn Jens after Lovett could just gain a bit. Oh, and very wide there, goes over the crest there, Jens, and I think that is a slowdown for him. Is just let Kevin Parrish pass here, and that was so close to a crash. I can't even. That was literally on the side of the wall right there.
Yeah, and that is about as wide as you can go in that corner without spearing off, pretty much just whacking that tyre barrier. He had 2 wheels off the track, and you see that if you go too wide there, race control will deem you to be cutting the course, even though you are technically going the long way around. And they will say that you have to lose about 2-3 seconds. That allowed Kevin Parrish to get past, and Jörn Jens seems to be just cracking under the pressure a little bit there. We'll see whether he can get past Parrish once again, as he has had a fast race car. Just looks as though his tyres have been falling off in the latter stages of the race. Lovett has been able to pull out a 1.7 second gap over Parrish whilst all that was going on. So Lovett looks as though he's got himself 6th place secured for the time being, but you know, it could all change. But out front, Dameron Jr. back on the charge. In that number 17 machine, the gap is up to 4.2 seconds. Let's see whether Evening can respond this time by, as they come out of the final corner. It is Dameron Jr. from Evening, and the gap is now down to 3.8 seconds. So Dameron Jr. isn't out of the woods yet, and one more little mistake, and this is, I believe, the 3rd we've seen Dameron Jr. make here today. One more little mistake, and Evening has got a chance to win this race.
Definitely, and well, we've suspected Dameron Jr. to be a little bit short fueled there. Not really saving fuel at the moment, just checking top speeds there. Ivonen and Dameron Jr. and also Boutaloop, Ilbrink, Roselli all seem pretty much on the same kind of setup, running similar top speeds. So he's not really put fuel save mode rather, in the car right now. 10 minutes to go, and Ivonen 3.8 behind. He has the chance now. I mean, with 10 seconds plus, you can probably stick for second. But with 4 seconds, under 4 seconds even, just a slight mistake, just being slightly held up by traffic puts it to 2. 2 puts it to 1. And just like that, you're right behind him, and Dameron is off!
Oh, and the final corner. Does he get back onto the racetrack? He does. But now, Evening, this is going to be mental going down into turn number 1.
He doesn't risk it. He doesn't risk it into the first turn. That was involving Enzo Bonito, the GT1 class leader. Dameron Jr. just tried to go past the outside, absolutely impossible. And Bonito just had to come up to the left there to make the turn, and he completely forgot that Dameron was alongside.
Kids, with 15 minutes left to go, we've got ourselves a race in the battle for the LMP2 race lead. It is Chris Dameron Jr. now from less than a second behind Timo Evening. Evening has got the draft, and this is the important thing. Now Evening has the draft, he can make something happen with it. And one of the things I wanted to discuss before that happened was you're talking about the fuel mix of these cars. Now, these cars can run anything from full rich to full lean, which affects mainly the acceleration and the top speed of these cars. You expect most of these drivers to be running full rich all the time here, but if Dameron Jr. has got some issues with his fuel economy, like we discussed, and he does have to run a different setting, then this could be all he needs to kind of get in a straight line.
And he's right at the tail of Dameron Jr. right now, and if they start fighting now, I tell you what, with 10 minutes to go, Bootaloo was just 8.7 seconds behind.
Indeed, and even the gap is now down to less than half a second. Chris Dameron Jr., race leader, after 2 hours and 19 minutes worth of racing, has got a .267 gap over Timo Evening, and this is come down to one of those kind of V8 style finishes that we've seen so often this season, and he's haunting him now as they come through turn number 7 and 8. And this is, oh, you see that a little bit sideways once again from Dameron Jr. This Evening wasn't able to capitalise. You see, he couldn't get onto the throttle until Dameron Jr. decided to get on it there. So that just kind of saved the baby of the number 17 car for the time being. But now will Evening sense some danger when he tries to look down to the inside coming into the chicane. You see that Dameron Jr. working down on the left-hand side. He's going to make Evening go right the hard way if he has to. And he just lost out a little bit there. Evening hits himself, got a little bit sideways there, and possibly lost his biggest opportunity.
Right up to over 1 second, 1.008, and just like that, crossing the line right now, Jeremy Bootaloo is closer than ever. 6.9 seconds for him right now. Still the fight going on between Jason Lovett, Kevin Parrish. Jörn Jens with a mistake dropped out of there, now settled for 8th position, but we're gonna stick to the leaders here as, yeah, in the last 5% of the race, this is gonna be the absolute decider.
And guys, if you want curveball, we're getting word down from pit road that Dameron Jr. may indeed have to pit for a splash and dash. So even it could just be fighting here for no reason. And you see he's backed off, he might have that message. We believe that Dameron Jr. still has to come down to make a splash and dash unless he's done the fuel saves of all fuel saves here. Even could just be fighting for no reason here.
I'm not really sure. He's probably holding on to a straw, but that straw seems to be long enough to really make it. If they both have problems, however, it could be Bootaloo making the profit from this.
Indeed, and this could come down to, you know, one driver running out of fuel down the back straight away if it goes down wrong. And you see we're down now into the last 10 minutes of the iRacing.com Petit Le Mans, brought to you by Glacier TV. It is Dameron Jr. from Evening, from Bootaloo, from Ilbrink, from Misali in your LMP2 cars. The best battle we have on track for the time being is the battle for the race lead with Dameron Jr. with a 1.5 second less gap over Timo Evening and the number 4 machine. Evening once again getting very close coming out of turn number 7. But it just looks like Evening's not really pushing as hard as he needs to be. Perhaps he's just trying to save it for the last lap, the last couple laps he wants to. Doesn't want to show his hand too early.
6.8 for Bootaloo. Well then, Ilbrink, Roselli all far out of contention there. It really is between Yvonne and Dameron for now.
And in the time being, we're keeping an eye out as well. Enzo Benito is just flying away in this race. So there's only one other car on the lead lap with him. That is Craig Hunter, who's got back onto the lead lap. It's Dameron Jr. They lost himself a lot of time going down into turn 1. This allowed Evening to close right back up now to less than half a second once again as they come out of turn number 4. Down now through the S's. They're sweeping right, left, right, and then a left again. And Marius just look at all the traffic ahead of these two drivers. We're setting ourselves up for a classic here.
I really just hope they bring this one home safe. Lots of cars around them. Of course, they are now approaching GT2 class leader Dave Geeling. And for these guys, it also counts. They really want this to finish, especially with Bonito and Geeling having such a big gap to the second place car in their class. And with the HPDs leading the whole field right now, breezing past, something can happen very likely. And I just hope everything stays safe.
Less than 10 minutes left to go, and things really are hotting up. You see that even really losing out there as they came out onto the final corner, and that gave Damon Jr. just a little bit of breathing space, even just having to take every opportunity available left to him now. Damon Jr. has got that lead back up to 1.2 seconds, but as they come down into turn 1, it's going to switch the other way once again. Damon Jr. is having to make a big move and is spinning. Oh, look at that! Oh, even just getting a little bit of a touch there. That was Joni Hagner, who was just spinning in the background, and it was indeed Joni Hagner in the number 5 car spinning. That'll set off the chain reaction. Even it looks like he should get away to fight another day. He's got himself a tiny bit of damage to the left rear of his race car. That's not going to stop him for now, but Marius, we talked about having to negotiate traffic, we talked about having to make some big moves, and in the last 5 minutes of this race, you're having to make bigger moves than ever. We got ourselves now less than 3 laps to go here in the iRacing.com Petit Le Mans. It is setting ourselves up for a classic shootout finish. Chris Damon Jr. in the number 17 machine is closing, it's being closed down once again by Timo Evenham. They've got themselves most of the traffic out of the way. We're having a look around the rest of the racetrack, and they're pretty much clear to go for the next 2 laps or so. It is possibly going to be that last lap when they're going to have drivers like Jorn Jens coming into play, Leski Loma coming into play, and Jason Lovett, who could potentially go 1 lap down. But these cars looking battered and bruised now, and even it really is having to push it for his own. But Marius, that damage he got to the left rear of his car just a couple of laps ago, looking as though it's not hurting him too much, but perhaps taking a tiny bit out of straight line speed.
It could be, and Damon pitting! Damon Jr. pitting, and it is not enough for him.
We talked about it. Damon Jr. did have to pit, and this is literally with 2 laps left to go. So we say anticlimactic often in racing, but this indeed could be one of them. Timo Evenham, from being 12 seconds in the lead, falls back, has to charge his way back to the field. He's pretty much now back in the race lead with 2-ish laps left to go. It literally is going to be close as they come across the line next time by. But Damon Jr. having to pit, he's going to fall all the way back to about 5th position. He's coming out of pit road now. We're keeping an eye on Anthony Rosselli. In fact, Rosselli's only coming to the final corner now. So Damon Jr. will fall back into the 5th position. And look at the traffic he's going to have to negotiate once again. After getting past him just a couple of laps to go, Damon Jr. is really having to push now 1 more time. We're having a look to Paul Imbrank in. He looks like he might just be clear enough for 4th position. Keeping an eye on Timo Evenham as he comes down past the finish line. I'm not sure if this is going to be the white flag lap this time by. It's going to be very close though, Marius.
It will be, and well, Evenham still isn't safe. We're not entirely sure if he's got enough fuel. He's just over the line, 2 hours, 27 minutes, 12 seconds done, just 4.5 seconds ahead of Booterloop. If Booterloop is really able to profit from this, I mean, this, like, you can't even expect this remotely.
Having a look at the battle for P5, this is Anthony Rosselli and Kevin Parrish. Kevin Parrish is looking as though he's got past their Rosselli in the closing stages of this race. So we talked about how Parrish was just going to be sat there waiting for his opportunity. His opportunity has come and moved Kevin Parrish into the top 5 in what is a climatic finish here. So the final iRacing.com World Tour event of the year. Marius, this has just gone upside down once again.
It's just absolutely combining all of the World Tour events this year. This is really just absolute climax, and just looking at the gap between the first 2 cars again, looks around 4 seconds as well. just one Corvette separating them, and it is Alexia Loma, and then it is pretty much free track until the finish, most likely. First lap cars start around the third split right now, so most likely free track for Ivonen. 2 laps to go here, 2 laps to victory for Teemu Ivonen.
But to throw the curveball in there, does Evening have enough fuel? I'm not quite sure, but Evening didn't pit too much later than Dameron Jr. I'm going to have a like back through the pit times if I have the opportunity, but Dameron Jr., I mean, his last pit stop was, I'm trying to look through, but I'm not quite sure it was that much earlier than I think it was going to be.
I think it was 1 to 2 laps, but that could just be these 2 laps which he misses out now. We're not really sure about how much he had in tank, of course. He could have just pitted a bit earlier and lost another lap. So for now, Teemu Ivonen seems safe, but he could just have the same issue. He doesn't seem to be saving fuel still. Straight line speeds are okay, but if he doesn't pit this time by, it is just 1 lap to go.
Indeed,
and he
yes.
doesn't. He stays out.
He had 4 laps left in the tanks. The Teemu Ivonen comes down this time by. The white flag is in hand. 1 more lap to go for the number 4 machine of Teemu Ivonen. He's got a 3.7 gap over Jeremy Bootsloop, who from nowhere is pretty much going to get himself a 2nd position in this race. And Bootsloop, I mean, he started this race down in the 6th position. He's going to claim 2nd position. But we were going to talk about someone coming from 12 to 1st. Dameron Jr. is going to be shaking his head at the end of this race, asking what went wrong in my strategy. So it is even, and he's coming down now into turn number 6 and 7 for the final time. You see that still using all the curve possible. In fact, almost going a little bit wide there as he came out of 7. He's just got himself now this long back straightaway for the final time. Then the chicane. Teemu Ivonen has had a tremendous race. He pulled himself out a 12-second lead at the start, then lost it all back as they went for the sequence of pit stops. Perhaps he knew that he had to save a bit of fuel, and this is what he's done to perfection as Teemu Ivonen, as he comes out of the final corner now for the final time, is going to win the last World Tour event of the year. Teemu Ivonen wins the iRacing.com Petit Le Mans.
And Jeremy Bouteloup, absolutely brilliant performance by the Frenchman here. Number 10 HPD in the 2nd position, 2.3 seconds after 2.5 hours, and a result which no one could have had predicted.
Paul Imbrank is going to come home to claim 3rd position. Having a look at Enzo Benito, he is coming up down towards turn number 7. And Dave Gielink in the GT2 class is only working his way through turn number 3 and 4. So we've got ourselves a little bit of time left before this race is going to be completely finished. But you see there now, Ilbrand has passed Dameron Jr. Sorry, yeah, Dameron Jr. does claim 4th position, but he's going to be incredibly disappointed with that finish. And Enzo Benito, so he's coming now down into the final chicane in the number 8 machine, and he's pretty much had it all his way for the last hour or so. He worked strategy to his advantage to get out ahead of Blake Townend. He's going to win the GT1 class. Marius, that was all on simple strategy, and he made that one work perfectly for him.
He really did, and with Blake Townend, his strongest contender, out of the way, he pretty much just had to drive this one home.
Now we're just waiting for Dave Gielink in the number 2 machine. He is, yeah, actually I believe that Gielink is pretty much done already. He's just bringing that car down towards pit road. So I take that back. The number 2 machine of Dave Gielink has won himself the GT2 class there in the number 2 machine, and he won it in just perfect style there. Roper Takeda come home in the 2nd position. We'll run through your final race results in just a matter of moments time, but. Wow, Marius, that was a big, tough, long race.
It was, and it really was something you want to stick through. The end was absolutely brilliant, and well, it shows in multi-class racing you can't really predict what is going to happen. You've got so many cars on track, you've got so many possible situations and ways this could go, and just absolutely staggering race.
So we're going to run through your final race results here for the iRacing.com Petit Le Mans, presented to you today by Glacier TV. And it is the number 4 machine of Timo Ivonen who leads the way, takes home victory in a time of 2 hours, 30 minutes, 43 seconds, 0.039. Jeremy Boutleep, after 2.5 hours of racing, just 2.3 seconds behind. Paul Ilbrandt in the 3rd position, with Chris Dameron Jr., who led most of this race, coming home in the 4th spot. Kevin Parrish in 5th, Anthony Rosselli in the 6th position, Jason Lovett in 7th, with Jean Jens in 8th, Marius Thomas in 9th, Pavel Okhmenko in the 10th spot, Frederick Forrest at 11th, Fernando Saxius in 12th, and Henry Bachmann in the 13th position. The rest of your LMP2 class will come up on your screen, and then over to the GT1 class is Enzo Benito from Craig Hunter, Aleski Aloma, Jan Wedin, and then it is Jenny Donstoff, F. Kamberky, Kimo Surman, Blake Townend, Brute Manzar, Daniel Sinker, Jack Cedric, and David Garcia are all retirees in your GT1 field. And then in the GT2 field, it is Dave Geeling winning the race in the number 2 machine from Roop Tequila, Gohemi Ratter in 3rd, Todd Carver in 4th, Yoni Hagner in 5th, 3 retirees in the GT2 field, namely Robin Friskops, Daniel Lopez, and Eric Verdoff.
And what a tough race, Will. Absolutely staggering performance by the guys. And we've got one of the guys here with us right now who, at least I thought, had a good shot at winning this for a long time of the race. We've got Roderick Croynan, and, well, Roderick, I think this hasn't really planned out as much as you thought it would.
Hello. No, indeed. Well, in the first, well, let's say 75% of the race or even more, and actually it was only 20 minutes to go, and indeed I was second, and I could hold up all the people behind me for the whole race, and Chris still had to stop. I knew that, so I was like, okay, if I just can bring this to the finish, I have a really big chance of winning this. But then, yeah, I got hit, and meatball, race over.
And just take us through that. I mean, it was close, and when you see a car on the grass in the chicane at Road Atlanta, you're always not quite sure of what's going to happen next, because these cars can go one way or the other, but they always end up somewhere back on the racetrack.
Yeah, so I saw something happening, saw a yellow flag, then saw those people spin, and I thought, okay, well, he's on the grass, and I didn't see he was still moving. And since I don't have 3 screens, he was in my blind spot, and all of a sudden, boom, and yeah.
And up until that point, I mean, it had been crazy navigating through traffic, the Corvette traffic, and the GT2 traffic of the 4 GTs as well. Having driven many of these cars, did you kind of have a bit of a better understanding of how each would react going into the corners, and did that help you at all as you were navigating your way through this race?
Definitely. I think I made one mistake with traffic, and I'm still sorry about that. I hit Kimo while I shouldn't have tried it, and for the rest it went pretty smooth. And I can see that I sometimes gain, and sometimes you get unlucky and you just lose, but you have to yeah, be patient and not try to force anything. And I think it went pretty well.
And summing up the race in total, and not only that, the entire World Tour event series this year, I mean, how things gone for you in the bigger picture, and I mean, what you're looking forward to next year?
Well, this is a great event. There was only been one like this before, you know, at Sebring, where I came 3rd and 2nd in Australian split. And for the rest, I haven't been racing too much with work and etc. But I'm really looking forward to the upcoming Proto Ice with Glacier TV. That sounds really cool.
And of course, this check for mentoring Proto Race will be in the post in the upcoming days. Cheers, Roderick, for that. Tough end to finish, but it was great watching you throughout this race. Is there anyone you want to thank before I let you go?
Yeah, of course, I want to thank my team and also the guys who stayed behind me and didn't force to, well, any dangerous moves. And of course, I'd like to thank the whole team and the sponsor, SteelSeries.
And from the from the LMP2 class, we'll move quickly over to the GT1s. And Aleski Aloma, you came home 3rd in that race, but that was just tough for you all race long. And it looks as though there was a bit of beating and banging going on between yourself and a couple of other drivers.
Yeah, there was some With the I don't remember the name, but with someone. I think Blake got taken out there. I haven't seen the replay yet, but at least in my view, I might have been a little too late, but my car was still there inside of that whoever I was passing, and in my view it looked like he turned into me and then spun.
I mean, down into that chicane where the incident happened, I mean, you can run pretty much the entire curb coming in without having to sacrifice, coming up the track too much. I mean, we talk about give and take a lot in these races, and was that the case here, that you're just expecting a little bit more, give from the other driver, especially as, at that point, you still had a good hour's worth of racing left to go?
Well, it's kind of short race still, even though it's a longer race than usual race. But well, if you want to get stuck or like that behind someone, in the end, if you're there like 10,000 laps, you lose so much time. So you might not want to give any positions.
And
Because it was so tough to pass.
oh yeah, I mean, and how was it being passed? There was times when, rather than looking forward, you were looking literally back in your mirrors, left and right, as the LMP2 cars were just swarming around you. I mean, how tough is it to negotiate a race stint and try and close down another driver when all you have to do is kind of, I wouldn't say get out of the way, but be wary of other cars around you?
Well, yeah, sometimes it's tough, especially in the beginning when there's so many cars coming at the same time. But I think first time everyone, well, most of people were so careful. But then after some laps or after they had passed me some laps, they were quite aggressive. But
And
yeah, some people were very good and some people were bad all the race.
10-4. You're one of the lucky ones looking forward. You've qualified for the iRacing.com 2013 World Championship Grand Prix Series, so you've got the next couple of months off. I mean, looking forward to next season though. It's going to be another tough year for you racing. What are you looking forward to?
Well, I hope I can qualify the races, but maybe I can practice some more this time. So maybe I can get some better positions and finishes.
10-4. Well, cheers, Oleski. Switching back to the LMP2 drivers, and Mr. Timo Evening, congratulations on winning the iRacing.com Petit Le Mans for 2012. It looked as though for large portions of that race, you led and then you slipped back and then you kind of came back to the fold in the last half an hour or so. But in those last 15 minutes, did you know that Damon Jr. had to pit again?
Yeah, I was aware of that. The race started off that when in practice we calculated that 2 stops would be kind of short on fuel or really close on fuel. So I kind of decided first stint just drive easy, and then after the second stint I noticed that I was falling back. But I wasn't worried at that point because I still thought that everyone else was on 3 stops. But after a while, like after the second stop, I got some message on TeamSpeak saying that everyone else is probably also on 2 stops, so I had to start pushing even harder then. And then in the end just kind of cruised around behind the guys, and because I know how traffic can be, so ended up getting the good side of the traffic. And I think there was a Corvette who hit me with like 10 laps to go, so my car got really oversteery at the end, and I saw Jeremy catching up, but managed to hold on to it.
And just take us through what you have to do in the race car when you know that you've got to hit a fuel number, yet at the same time you've got to push and you've got to try and make up positions, you've got to make up time. And how does that all play in? Is it just like the one big kind of ball of mess that is endurance racing, or did you just know, okay, this is my lap time that I need to hit if I'm going to, you know, make it to the end on 2 stops?
Yeah, well, not exactly what sort of lap times, but I kind of knew how, because I kept an eye on the fuel per lap on the dash in the car, so I kind of knew what I can't go over to be able to make it all the way. I only had like half a lap of fuel left, and of course it's a more stressful situation when you have to try and save fuel and make up time on the guys in front at the same time. So it adds a bit more stress, of course. But it's multi-class racing, you know. You can lose 5 seconds in 2 laps just like that if you get the traffic in a bad spot. So I was kind of hoping that everyone else would have bad traffic and I would get the good traffic, so to speak.
And of course, these cars, you can run anywhere from, you know, what we classify as full rich to full lean on them by adjusting it in car. Were you using that at all, or was it just a case of, you know, just braking early, coasting for the corners more? And if so, I mean, was it a case of that you wanted to run more fuel, but you just having to be, you know, kind of strict on yourself not to put too much power on?
Yeah, exactly. I never used the in-car fuel dial at all because my experience just shows that it doesn't really help that much. The best way to save fuel is just to brake early and try and coast. So I was trying to do that as much as possible all around the track. And every time I saw that I would get traffic, even though I was far behind the lapped car, and I knew I would get him in a corner, I just put it in 6th gear right away, and because there's no point in trying to pass in the middle of the corner, so I just put a higher gear and coasted and took the slower cars on the exit instead.
And thinking about your season, you know, for the next couple of months, stressful times ahead for you. But I mean, what are you looking forward to, and what's your challenges going to be for next season, heading on into next year?
Well, it's kind of hard to say because I'm gonna have 2 priorities. It's the Proto Ice, which everyone should join. It's gonna be an awesome league to drive, and at the same time, on the same day, I'm gonna have to drive the Pro Series, the road. So it's gonna be, I don't know. I'm just gonna have so much to do. The upcoming season is crazy.
Which do you want to win more?
Well, I mean, looking at the names in both the series, I mean, if I just get the top 25 in Pro, I'm happy with that. And I don't even know what to expect in the Proto Ice, but I enjoy this car, and there's those 4, 5, 6 names up there that nobody can beat. But I'm kind of hoping that maybe a top 5 overall in the end of the season in the Proto Ice would be a good goal for me.
Well, thank you for talking to us, Timo. Of course, you'll see him in the Pro season starting in a couple of weeks' time, and of course, Proto Race starting next Saturday, both of which you can find on Glacier TV. And switching from the LMP2 class over to the GT2 class momentarily, Mr. Joni Hagner, he had an interesting race, to the point that the last time we tried talking to you, you almost got involved in a huge incident down at the chicane.
Yeah, that was pretty tough race. You will be looking the whole time on the mirrors, and I don't know. That was fun.
Of course, the GT2 cars are dramatically slower, not only in the corners but in a straight line compared to the Corvettes and the GT1s and the LMP2 cars. And just how do you negotiate a long race in one of those cars, knowing that really you're racing yourself just to see how much time you can gain while other cars are, you know, swarming around you?
Yeah, you need to just be on your game, so I don't know. That's hard to explain, but remember to brake early or brake late so they don't pass you. Or pass you. Well, I don't know.
And I mean, you had that incident earlier on in the race that we talked about. You managed to bounce back from that to get yourself there, well, get yourself into 5th position overall in class. But I mean, could you have done more in that race? Do you think you could have, you know, fought for a podium at least, or was, for example, was Geelink out of sight? Could you have tried to attack Takedo and Ratto?
Yeah, I got some bad luck on about lap 50, so Petit Le Mans hit me on the turn 2, and my car was junk after that.
And for you, so looking forward to the winter, looking forward to 2013, what are your plans and what do you hope to achieve in the next couple of months?
Well, most of all victories and something nice.
Victories and something nice. We'll try and help you sort that one out. Cheers, Mr. Yoni Hagen. And this time I want to bring in our technical man, we call him, Mr. Yoni Backman. We try and talk to you for most of the race, but you were just too busy today. And I want your thoughts on this race from the director's point of view.
Honestly, I think that's from I've been doing online broadcasts for iRacing for about 10, 11 months now, and I have to say this was by far the trickiest I've ever had to do. I mean, there was, from start to finish, there was so much going on, and there was so much telemetry to follow to catch all the action on track that I honestly was about to shoot myself. There was, at the time we showed a replay, there was 2 incidents happening behind that. So I had fun though, but just imagine if I had to go on air through the mic as I was trying to battle the cameras out. That would have been funny stuff to hear. But yeah, awesome race. Big congratulations to Demo for taking the win. I was I was also counting him out in 30 minutes before the end. But yeah, I was. You heard me talking about that behind the scenes, the little Ayrton Senna thingy that you would lead the race by 1 minute and oops. And that's yeah, we saw that quite a few times in this race, but naturally you never wish that to happen to anybody, but it's always the case in racing.
And just how difficult, just take us through your job, because we never talk about your back of house stuff in Glacier. Just take us through, the stuff that you have to do behind the scenes, all the cameras and everything. I mean, what type of work goes into setting up a broadcast of this magnitude?
Well, basically it all starts from like you basically would join any random session to spectate. You join the session, you set up the cameras, you have to figure out exactly. I mean, the camera sets are sometimes more functional for broadcasting purposes than some tracks might not be, and you just have to figure out what exactly is it that the viewer, if you put yourself in the viewer's seat, what would you like to see? Like camera angles, fights on the track, results, when and where, and then you just gotta put it all together. And basically behind the scenes, it's all about just trying to listen to the guys on air and try to follow what you guys are seeing, and all at the same time follow the telemetry and report wrecks as best I can. And not usually, like most of the cases, it's pretty straightforward. It's fairly simple when you have single file racing with absolutely nothing happening. Actually, it's a bit sleepy at the times, but this was the exact opposite, and I really loved it, even though it was very, very hard.
And we've got ourselves, of course, the Proto Way starting next week. We've got ourselves the iRacing.com Pro Road Series starting in 2 weeks' time. We've got the ISOWC Michigan 600. A number of series going on. For example, we signed a 16 Street Racing League recently. A lot of racing going on through 2013. And I mean, what's the particular highlights you're looking forward to moving on?
Highlights. I can't really tell. I mean, you cannot tell before a broadcast that it's going to be like, or before any race that it's going to be boring or not boring. Like it's we've seen throughout all the broadcasts that plenty of times I've thought that okay, this race is not going to be that interesting, and it has been exact opposite. There's been action all around the track and passing after passing. Then when we had, for a moment, we thought that, oh, this is going to be a barn burner, that everyone's just going to wreck out and somebody's going to lead with 25 seconds. Nothing's happening. So what I'm expecting or highlighting in the future, probably Proto season opener is on a racetrack, or the Road America, which is fast and it provides a ton of drafting. And I'm sure Timo has been pretty fast over there. So Yeah, I based on all the lap times I've seen people doing the practice sessions, the leading pack is insanely close. So I mean, Road Atlanta is not by any means the best track for like proper racing purpose, and we've seen through this race 2.5 hours what the HPD can do. So I'm really looking forward to it.
And of course, with this, we say goodbye to the 2012 iRacing.com World Tour. It's been amazing this season. I mean, what we've had the 2.4 hours of Daytona to kick us off. We had the Daytona 500. We had the 90 minutes of Sebring. We've had, I'm just flicking through all the races in my head. We had the World 600 and Memorial Day weekend. The Grand Prix of Spa, the Brickyard 400, the Talladega 500. Looking back through all your World Tour events of this year, I mean, which one is your personal favourite?
Petit Le Mans 2.5 hours by a mile. Honestly, I thought the Spa Grand Prix would have been seeing the Eloma and Rocco Baroni going too wide through 5 straight corners. I thought that would be the highlight of the season, but really the Road Atlanta just proved so much action, both good action and bad action. I honestly don't know what to say.
Cheers, Jenny. Of course, it's now time to say goodbye. First of all, before I do so, of course, we haven't talked about it in this broadcast, but you know, we always race because we have people in this world who, I wouldn't say we idolize, but we look up to in racing. And there's many people that come to iRacing for many different sorts of reasons. And of course, 1 year ago, this past year, we lost 2 fabulous racers. First, of course, Dan Weldon and that horrible crash back at Las Vegas. And then 1 year ago today, we lost Marco Simoncelli in a horrific accident at Malaysia. So for myself and everyone at Glacier, this race is dedicated to them. We race on iRacing because we want to aspire to be some of these people, and it's always sad to see someone in the motorsports community, you know, pass away. And of course, we've been home for the World Tour this year, and it's been an absolute honour and a privilege to do so. Broadcasting all but one of the World Tour events, of course, our friends at PSR TV broadcasted the 2012 iRacing Indianapolis 500. We'll be back next Saturday for round 1 of the 2012 Proto Ice. If you think today was interesting, wait until next week. We're going to see reverse grids. We're going to see drivers battling for every 10th of a second in the LMP2 Honda development performance cars. It's going to be absolutely amazing. That's next Saturday here live on Glacier TV. Of course, we've got the Blondies World Tour as well next Saturday. The ISOWC Grand Prix of Britain is going to be on next Sunday. And then, not this coming Saturday, but the Saturday afterwards, the 2012 iRacing.com Road Pro Series, the road to the 2013 iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series starts here live on Glacier TV with 44 laps on Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps with some of the best up-and-coming road open-wheel drivers. It is going to be truly amazing. Go to Glacier TV for that, and of course, all the upcoming races that we're bringing to you. Myself, Mioni Backman, from Marius Gone and back. It is time to say goodbye. We'll see you later on.